Cat piss, I am also scared. We definitely can be. We definitely can be. Hello, 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 everybody. Oh, thanks for the sub, Cat Piss. I really appreciate that. Oh, and 6 months in advance as well. Holy crap. Thank you. Oh, sorry, you've been subscribed for 6 months. I was gonna say 6 months in advance. That's wild. I hope you're all doing all right today. So, I did have entirely different plans for this stream, but a last minute change has changed some things. We are still going to have Whick coming on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're still going to be talking about a lot of stuff relating to emotional regulation, emotional resilience, even, especially after what we're about to read in a hot minute. And we're also going to be discussing some of the things happening in the country that we kind of need some of this resilience for. But I suppose, like, before we really jump into it, we should get a little bit of joy in, just the tiniest, tiniest little bit of joy. And I get that from watching people who thought that the tariffs weren't real, or that they didn't have to pay them, or really just MAGA people that are mad that the leopards are eating their faces. That makes me feel quite blissful. This right here is an example of a Temu cart. A Temu cart that originally costed $1,452. God damn, what the fuck are you buying from Temu worth $1,400? Might just to start off with. But discount of $1,000, pretty good on using Temu, are you? And so the subtotal being 376. But then we see when it comes into the country, there's a $323 import charge. That right there is the tariffs. And they're mad about it. Comrade Lennon, I hope everyone feels safer. Things are scary. As my favorite other newscaster says, don't be scared, be prepared. I do enjoy that type of rhetoric. Don't be scared, be prepared. And I mean, we've all been preparing. We've known that this is coming for a while now, right? Hey everyone who thinks that AT&T and all telecom corpos should burn in hell. I'm gonna refrain from saying that for just a hot minute, but generally, yes, I do believe that yeah. First of all, I think telecommunications should be nationalized, and that should be a human right. Let alone a corporation. But yeah, fuck the corpos, generally. I think I'm still allowed to say that. Fuck the corpos? I'm not quite sure. It's a little iffy considering where we're at right now, politics-wise. So I suppose we should just jump right into how bad this is gonna be, because it's pretty bad, actually. So 2 new executive orders came out, both just actually a couple days ago, from my perspective, just yesterday for you guys, but taking some time to read it. Nobody deserves to go to hell, even corpos. No, corpos do. And, like, it doesn't matter. So, the first of these two work in tandem, by the way. The 2 of these together is functionally just doing the Insurrection Act without doing the Insurrection Act. Remember when I said on the 20th they were very likely to declare the Insurrection Act, and that there was a chance that they wouldn't, and just the day before they deployed some National Guard troops to New Mexico, and I thought, like, maybe they found a workaround, maybe they don't need to quite do full-on martial law, and it seems that they did. It seems that they did find a workaround. So let's have a look at how this works. I'll read it for you first, and then we can analyze it. So, Section 1, Purpose and Policy of the Protecting American Communities from Criminal Aliens Executive Order. So, Federal supremacy with respect to immigration, national security, and foreign policy is axiomatic. The Constitution provides the federal government with the plenary authority regarding immigration to protect the sovereignty of our nation and to conduct relations with other nations, who must be able to deal with one national government on such matters. As if it's not already like this. I'm not going to fact check this as I go through. We'll do that at the end because then I'll be reading this for like an hour and a half. Where it's not all that long, actually. The second one is much shorter and quicker. So, this power is sometimes contained in specific constitutional provisions. Article 2 of the Constitution vests the power to protect national security and conduct foreign policy in the President of the United States. And Article 4, Section 4 requires the federal government to protect each of these states against invasion. The federal power over immigration is also an inherent element of national sovereignty. I see we're already using the word invasion here. The prior administration allowed unchecked millions of aliens to illegally enter the United States. The resulting public safety and national security risks are exacerbated by the presence of and control of territory by international cartels, citation needed, and other transnational criminal organizations along the southern border, as well as terrorists and other maligned actors who intend to harm the United States and the American people. This invasion at the southern border, there we go, invasion, because, the Insurrection Act required an invasion, at least just to be able to put in place anyway, though this is kind of negating the necessity of that. Requires the federal government to take measures to fulfill its obligation to the states, yet some states and local officials nevertheless continue to use their authority to violate, obstruct, and defy the enforcement of federal immigration law. This is a lawless insurrection. Alrighty, there we go, calling it an insurrection, against the supremacy of federal law and the federal government's obligation to defend the territorial sovereignty of the United States. Hey guys, what happened to states' rights? Didn't the right used to love states' rights? Because federal supremacy really sounds like big government to me. It doesn't sound like states' rights. But beyond the intolerable national security risks, such nullification efforts often violate federal criminal laws, including those prohibiting obstruction of justice, unlawfully harboring or hiring illegal aliens, conspiring against the United States. We've already seen this one employed twice against judges already, so... and conspiracy to impede federal law enforcement. This is what they're going to use to arrest AOC, as Tom Homan's been dying to do. Conspiracy to impede federal law enforcement, meaning teaching people that they have rights, which, to be fair, they don't have anymore anyway, but, Assisting aliens in violating federal immigration law could also violate the Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organizations Act, meaning they will hit you with fucking RICO charges. The thing that we created to take down the mob. They will use the RICO Act on you for literally assisting brown people at this point. If you have, let's say... someone who works for you, who is undocumented, you're gonna get hit with the RICO Act, which is, not a small thing. Some measures to assist illegal aliens also necessarily violate federal laws prohibiting discrimination against Americans in favor of illegal aliens and protecting American civil rights. It's imperative the federal government restore enforcement of the law to the U.S. The corpos won't like this, but it doesn't matter. This is now, we're moving beyond the corporatism to the National Socialism bit. This is step one. This is functionally already martial law, and we haven't even gotten to the part where the cops get involved. This one's just about ICE and federal law. So, designation of sanctuary jurisdictions. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General, in coordination with the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall publish a list of states and local jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration law, sanctuary jurisdictions. After this initial publication, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall update this list necessarily. They love making lists, these fascists. Immediately following each publication, under subsection A of this section, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall notify each sanctuary jurisdiction regarding its defiance of federal immigration law and any potential violations of federal criminal law. Consequently, for sanctuary jurisdiction status, with respect to sanctuary jurisdictions that are designated under Section 2A of this order, the head of each executive department or agency, in coordination with the director of the Office of Management and Budget, as permitted by law, shall identify appropriate federal funds to sanctuary jurisdictions, including grants and contracts for suspension and termination as appropriate. These can include anything from hospitals to schools to businesses to just like the actual state itself. Remember, like, we watched Pritzker saying it's time to stand up and not give these people a moment of peace. Well, that's illegal now. Pritzker saying that could get him arrested, even like after the fact. With respect to jurisdiction that remains sanctuary jurisdiction after these have been provided notice, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall pursue all necessary legal remedies, preventing federal benefits for aliens in sanctuary jurisdictions. The Homeland Security Secretary, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall develop guidance, rules, and other appropriate mechanisms to ensure appropriate eligibility verification is conducted for individuals receiving federal public benefits. Obviously, this does not apply to just, like, immigrants. It applies to anyone that they don't like and don't want to give benefits to. Like, you could be everything that MAGA likes, except, like, you're a gay man or you're a bisexual man. Suddenly, it looks like you are no longer eligible for federal grant money, for example. That could be a thing that they do. And from private entities in a sanctuary jurisdiction, whether such verification is conducted by the private entity or by the government entity on its behalf. Equal treatment of Americans, the Attorney General in consultation, and appropriate agency heads shall identify and take appropriate action to stop enforcement of state and local laws, regulations, and policies and practices favoring aliens or any group over that of American citizens that are unlawful. Again, like, their use of unlawful is just who they don't like. American citizen is citizen that they like, not just like any citizen. You being a citizen don't mean shit right now. General provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to execute department or agency or the head thereof. The functions of the Director of Office of Management and Budget related to budgetary, administrative, and legislative proposals. The order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law, which no, it won't. The order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities. As in, like, you can't sue us for this. Not, like, I don't know how this provision will mean anything. United is how the left wins. You are right, and we shouldn't give them a moment of respite, but it is criminal to do so now. So this right here, this one is for states. This is for private industry within those states. These are for elected officials within these states. But that's not the entire, like, of the list. First of all, again, private individuals, even private companies can get hit with the RICO Act over this. And it does not matter at all at this point when it comes to harboring illegal aliens or assisting aliens in violating federal immigration law. Would be like, I don't know, telling them what their rights are and how to apply for the right visa. Conspiracy to impede federal law enforcement would be any amount of talking about the fact of protests would be conspiracy to impede federal law enforcement, actually. So that's gone. Protests are illegal now. Thank you for the sub, Walker Steele. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute since I've seen you. This is so beyond unconstitutional, it's fucking ridiculous. Actually, the Constitution specifically says that if something like this was to happen, that, like, this is why you have the Second Amendment. It's specifically for this, actually. And I don't mean that in any kind of a stretch. I mean, read the Second Amendment. It is literally for this. That's what it was made for. So, second one is strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens. Already loving how that sounds. So, Section 1, Purpose and Policy. Safe communities rely on the backbone of heroism of a tough and well-equipped police force. My administration is steadfastly committed to empowering state and local law enforcement to firmly police dangerous criminal behavior and protect innocent civilians. Well, why aren't you arresting all of yourselves then? Whatever. But like, what's up, Maddie? We're just talking about how we basically have light martial law now. The local leaders demonize law enforcement and impose legal and political handcuffs that make aggressively enforcing the law impossible. Crimes thrive and innocent citizens and small businesses owners suffer. And my administration will therefore establish best practices at the state and local level for cities to unleash high-impact local police forces. Love that. That's exactly what we need. We need high-impact local police forces more than we already have somehow. Protect and defend law enforcement officers wrongly accused and abused by state or local officials. This one means that cops are above the law now. Yeah, fascism is here to stay, y'all. This was it, by the way. This is actually the worst case scenario. It might have been better if they had actually just went forward with martial law, because people at least would have paid attention. This being done in this manner means that there's going to be basically no resistance to this. Almost nobody's going to even read this. I've yet to see any real, like, major coverage on this. Now, again, you know, protect and defend law enforcement officers wrongly accused and abused by state or local officials. So the cops can just do whatever they want and they can't be prosecuted. My administration will work to ensure that law enforcement officers across America focus on ending crime, not pursuing harmful, illegal, race and sex-based equity policies. When have cops been doing that at all? Just generally? Just general, like, give me an whatever. The result will be a law-abiding society in which tenacious law enforcement officers will protect the innocent. Violation of the law is not tolerated, and American communities are safely enjoyed by all citizens. Again, violation of the law is not tolerated. Again, like, these are criminals saying this. This is essentially the mob saying this. And again, they have already put forward that they will use the RICO Act against you. Regardless, like, they could just do whatever the fuck they want. Legal defense of law enforcement officers. The Attorney General shall take all appropriate action to create a mechanism to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. As in, like, if you sue them, then the government, your tax money will pay for the defense of the cop who's getting sued, whether it's a civil case or not, but you can't really sue them anyway, because it is said that, you know, they can't be sued. State and local level, generally, cannot, what's the word? Jesus Christ. The state and the local level cannot in any way go against law enforcement. You can't arrest them. You can't claim that they have done a crime. You can't record them and say, here's them doing something illegal. No, the state will say they're immune. They have the right to do that. In fact, you are a criminal because you want to stop the cops from doing their job. That's what they will say. So, there it is. And this mechanism shall include the use of private sector pro bono assistance for law enforcement officers, meaning law firms that are allied with the Trump admin get bonus, like, contracts in other areas of where they need them in exchange for defending cops where they're 100% going to win. Yeah. empowering state and local law enforcement, the Attorney General, and other appropriate heads of executive departments and agencies shall take appropriate action to maximize the use of federal resources to provide new best practices to state and local law enforcement to aggressively police communities against all crimes, expand access and improve the quality of training available to state and local law enforcement, increase pay and benefits for the cops, strengthen and expand legal protections for law enforcement officers, seek enhanced sentences for crimes against law enforcement officers. So like, I don't know, you flip off a cop and suddenly it is you have assaulted with a deadly weapon. This police officer is what you get charged with now. Yeah, this is the cops can just shoot to kill people in house raids and not be arrested. Yeah, that literally is what this says that they can do. That's actually what this says. Promote investment in the security and capacity of prisoners, or prisons rather. So let's build more camps. Increase the investment in and the collection, distribution, and uniformity of crime data across jurisdictions. Let's make a big old database, which like we already have. I don't know why you need another one. I mean, like, sure, the federal database and the civil database aren't exactly synced, and I guess that's what they're doing here. I mean, it's not that they're not even synced, they're just not perfectly synced, but whatever. So they can doctor it, that too. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall review all ongoing federal consent decrees, out-of-court agreements, and post-judgment orders to which state or local law enforcement agency is a party, modified, rescinded, or moved to conclude such measures that unduly impede the performance of law enforcement functions, as in within 60 days, anything that was a lawsuit that was put up against a cop, for example, gets dropped. Any lawsuit against ICE gets dropped. Any lawsuit against any form of like the FBI, the cops shot me by accident. Oh, they're also bringing in the military. Yeah, come on, don't read ahead. I mean, or you can read ahead, but at least wait for the rest of the class to catch up a little bit, Shard. As someone who grew up in Europe, it's wild how people there are scared of the cops. That should never happen. They're supposed to serve you. Yeah, no, the cops here protect property rights, not people. Don't be sorry. I'm making a joke because type of shit that I heard in school. What's up, Seven Hamuda? A word like military kind of sticks out though. Yeah, it does. It does indeed. So, what's next is section 4. Using national security assets for law and order. Within 90 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security and heads of the agencies as appropriate, shall increase the provisions of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. Like I said, exactly as they did in New Mexico, this was their workaround for the entirety of needing to declare martial law. Fuck capitalism. I have to get a second job to supplement my income. Fuck capitalism. You shouldn't need to get any job to be able to live. You should just be able to, you should get a job for fun. But that's a world that's far, far away from where we are now, especially with this. So then within 90 days of this order, the Secretary of Defense, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall determine how military and national security assets, training, non-lethal capabilities, and personnel can most effectively be utilized to prevent crime. Non-lethal? Really? Okay, well, I mean, I'm glad that they're gonna at least try, or at least pretend to try. Holding state and local officials accountable. The Attorney General shall pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures to enforce the rights of Americans impacted by crime and shall prioritize the prosecution of any applicable violations of federal criminal law with respect to state and local jurisdictions whose officials A, willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly or unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties or public safety and law enforcement, or unlawfully engaging in discriminatory or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, which I thought were gone already. So, like, again, all of this is a lot of words for them saying we're giving the cops immunity and sending the military out. This is martial law. This combined with its sister fucking act over here are. We'll analyze all this in a minute. So then we get to section 6, use of the Homeland Security Task Force. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall utilize the Homeland Security Task Forces formed in coordination with Executive Order 14159 of January 2025, protecting the American people against invasion. There we go. That's literally them just saying it. This was the order that said we need the Insurrection Act, and to, like, within 90 days, let me know if we need the Insurrection Act. And now this is saying, oh yeah, we're just going to do all of that without actually declaring the Insurrection Act. In fact, citing the same order in which he ordered the report into the Insurrection Act to coordinate and advance the objectives of this order. General provisions, nothing in this order shall be constructed to otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or head thereof. Does this count governors? The functions of the director of office, blah, 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 blah. Same as the last time. Okay. So, we're fucked. That's really bad. Like, that's really bad. That is, protest is illegal. That is, organizing is illegal. That is, speaking out as a elected official is, if not entirely illegal, but incredibly risky and dangerous. It's fascism. It is literally fascism. I mean, like, under that law, rather that executive order, this from Pritzker would be illegal. I'm pretty sure.
It's time for us to be done with optimism about their motives or their objectives. Time to stop wondering if you can trust the nuclear codes to people who don't know how to organize a group chat.
Not long.
It's time to stop ignoring the hypocrisy and wearing a big gold cross while announcing the defunding of children's cancer research.
This would now be illegal.
Thinking that we can reason or negotiate with a madman. Time to stop apologizing when we were not wrong. Time to stop surrendering when we need to fight. Our small businesses don't deserve to be bankrupted by unsustainable tariffs. Our retirees don't deserve to be left destitute.
Like, you get the point. It's an excellent speech. You're not going to see many more of those, because this is what these two acts, again, the strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens, combined with the protecting American communities from criminal aliens, executive orders, give extensive power. It is just, we're going to say it's not martial law, but it is. They expand federal control over the police, immigration. It makes it so that any court saying, like, no, you can't do that, can't legally do that. I mean, whether or not this would actually go above Congress or the Constitution, obviously still it doesn't, but neither of those seem to matter. So if we are functioning off the unitary executive, which we have been, that would make a court saying, no, you can't deport this person, an illegal action by that judge, and therefore that judge can then be arrested for insurrection, essentially. They literally use the word insurrection to label political disagreement in the document. Where is it? Insurrection. You know? Yet some states and local officials nevertheless continue to use their authority to violate, obstruct, and defy enforcement of federal immigration law. This is a lawless insurrection against the supremacy of federal law. States' rights they never gave two fucks about. Unlike the Insurrection Act, this doesn't officially deploy the military. It just says we're going to deploy some military and some National Guard to some places, but it's deploying the military. I feel like they're not going to care about the courts from here on out. They haven't cared about the courts for like months, really, Shrub Girl. But yeah, no, it's flat out done now. There is no more legal pathways of resistance. This closed every legal pathway of resistance. Protests are illegal under this. By the wording of these documents, organizing a protest is a conspiracy to commit federal crimes. This means A, the police are now going to be extra militarized. They're going to have fancier toys to play with than they already have far too much. They are now immune from the law, which, by the way, you have to pay for all of this. And they can just shoot and kill you. And not only will the news not cover it, because that would make it a crime for the news. We'll talk about that in just a second. Not crime necessarily, but they can make it over to crime. Not all that difficult. Not with much difficulty from where we are now. In fact, actually, really quickly, just laying it in one by one, why they can just come into your house and shoot you, and even the news will not be able to say anything about it. This is to Fox News.
He's sort of underwater, and particularly on the economy, tariffs, and inflation, he's well underwater. You've still got some work to do in that front. A lot of people think that he's spending too much time on tariffs and not enough time on the economy and lowering prices. What do you say?
Well, I don't want to make things awkward for you, John, but it is our opinion that Fox News needs to fire his pollster. And I won't surprise you with that. I don't think you're surprised that I'm saying that.
Literally, like, that's the answer, is fire the person who put together that poll. So, like, yeah. Yeah, well, Stephen Miller is the one that's kind of running the show right now, I'm pretty sure. The Canadian election was great. That was nice. A little bit of good news, but the fact that we now have martial law kind of overtook that. What's up, NoCal Mike? We're just covering martial law. Again, this also means that they can beat you. The cops can just kill you. They can break into your house. It doesn't matter. They're immune now. They are going to build even more camps. Sanctuary cities are now illegal. This will also result in any kind of local or state defiance of these executive orders, of either of them, can now result in defunding of hospitals, defunding of critical, like, state infrastructure. They will collapse a government, like the state government, and just take it by force. Like, we're balkanizing now. I'll be running errands when the Whick grilling starts. It's not going to be grilling. We're not debating or anything. So many people are going to die. So many people are going to die. NoCal Mike, before you go run some errands, go check out these two executive orders, because we have martial law now. I mean, this is basically what we did back in the 50s, like with Eisenhower, to an extent, but that was almost like that was much more open about it being martial law. Yeah, Fox News is too woke now. This is Jim Crow era federal crackdowns using national power. This is the end of states' rights. This is the entire point. Like, this was where we were always coming. See also, Supreme Court looking at if law enforcement can be held accountable for raiding the wrong home. Well, now they can't, because the court doesn't matter. The cops have immunity, and the courts, like, are just gonna say whatever they say and no one cares. This isn't about immigrants. This is about eroding everyone's right to speech. You're not allowed to protest anymore. Again, remember, protest. If you get arrested for any kind of, let's say you hide an immigrant in your house. Let's say you hide a queer person in your house, and the law enforcement officers break in your door, right? This means that you don't get due process either. Well, that was a given. It means if you went to a protest already, maybe they're going to apply this, with the backlog. They could already be doing shit like, oh yeah, unleashing it as if it wasn't already. Yeah, now we gave them immunity and more funding. I mean, let's say you are the queer person. Well, then you're just committing a different crime. That way, you're not harboring an illegal alien. If you're a queer person, now you are an illegal alien. Let's say you are the leftist. Well, yeah, exactly. They're just gonna shoot and kill. That's the whole point. You can't, like, you hide Anne Frank in your attic. Sorry, you're going to Auschwitz. Sorry, you're Anne Frank. You're going to Auschwitz too. That's what they're saying here. I'm harboring an illegal alien in my meat suit. Yeah, literally. They're gonna want to search that too. And they will. You know, they'll open up the meat suit and have a look in there. You might not get to survive that process, but for the freedoms of the American people, it'll be worth it. Yeah, no, flee right the fuck now. Yes, they can break your door down, shoot you in the face, and are not held liable anymore. There's no due process, no questions asked, none of it. There's no protections for you. There is no protections from the state. They can arrest elected officials under this now. Again, Tom Homan wanted AOC arrested for teaching immigrants that they have rights. That's now a conspiracy to prevent law enforcement from doing their job. They wanted to, they've been saying all of this. It's not like they were hiding it. Dude, I just read it. Seriously, is this the best the Trump admin can do? It's mediocre attempt at semi-martial law and a usual recipe of let's fight crime with many cops. Read between the lines, did Soccer. Read between the lines. Obviously, the point of doing it this way, rather than actually declaring the Insurrection Act or martial law on the 20th, like they were originally going to do, is this makes it so there's extremely less eyes on the subject. No one's reading this shit. No one's covering this shit. Nobody knows about this shit right here. No, like, this is 2 days old and I'm hearing about it just now. Whereas if they just did martial law, everyone would be aware. There's going to be much less resistance to it now. They do like it, like to slowly boil the water up. Yeah, that's what it is. We've now hit the boiling point of the pot. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. This is not about immigrants. They use the word insurrection for any attempt to resist the government, to even speak badly about the government. It's now thought crimes. Local police and governments are now like enforcing federal law as well. They're going against the court and the Constitution. You don't have the First Amendment anymore. By the way, apparently, remember that DOJ order that said cops can break the door down and come into your house without a warrant? And a bunch of right-wingers were like, oh, they're about to find out how the Second Amendment works. Turns out, they're protected. You're not allowed to use the Second Amendment when the cops break into your house, which is, you know, kind of why the Second Amendment was put in place. It was to protect you from government tyranny. I mean, that's not me. Don't, I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just saying if you read the Constitution, the founding document of the nation that we're talking about, the founding fathers wrote that down. And so, you know, if anyone should be arrested for treason, it should be the founding fathers. Yeah. This is about property, by the way. Like, this is about protecting property from you. This is about making sure that you cannot resist anymore. Like, this is about... This is right when they're going to take everything away from you. All of your money, all of your financial security, all of your rights, the Second Amendment. You think they're not coming for the left's guns? We've watched Pam Bondi talking about how we need to come for the left's guns. And they're going to do that too. All of this is the foundation. This is the first step towards the actual proper Reich. This is going to be used specifically against political dissidents. Bottom line is, this is an excuse for MAGA to do everything possible to establish their rule of fascist dictatorship. It's not a law. There's no law here. Law and order doesn't exist anymore. The AP just put out an article that SCOTUS is going to split on the unwarranted ICE raid. Captain Buggy, it doesn't matter. It's illegal now. It's literally illegal for the court to say so. State and local law enforcement officials, state and local, as well as the Supreme Court being ignored anyway, but this included the courts when we read it from the very beginning. Anyone who is trying to suppress or work against the federal government's law enforcement capability, this is a lawless insurrection. This is martial law, my guy. This is just martial law light. There you go. Basically, this opens the door to defunding any city or state that doesn't comply. Again, sanctuary cities, you get no federal funding. Your hospitals get shut down. Your roads don't get repaired. Your electricity infrastructure doesn't get repaired. Hell, if you have any part of your state funded by the government, that's gone. Education, gone. Gone, 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 gone. Legalizing political persecution. Local leaders can now be criminally charged for supporting anything, literally anything that the government doesn't like. Whether it's immigrants, whether it's civil rights, whether it is just like somebody who made a joke about Donald Trump. It doesn't matter because the definitions are vague. The words that are used in this are obstruction. Like, again, obstruct and defy federal law enforcement. That's not very specific. Or, you know, some measures to assist violating federal laws prohibiting discrimination of Americans in favor of illegal aliens. Like, this is the DEI stuff. What does that mean? We don't have any concrete definitions of these, which means they can just be used as broadly as they could possibly want. This also means that there is now a blank check for the cops. Again, they can just drone strike you now and nothing will happen to them. Not to say that, you know, that's the first thing that they're going to go with, but we do love wasting money on military shit, so why not do it at home as well? Detrimental to the strategic goals of the POTUS. Exactly. This is going to also be implemented with Palantir's new surveillance system that they're rolling out, the AI surveillance system. It's all put together. They wrote it so they can make it up as they go. Absolutely. The unholy trinity. 1, schizophrenia, 2, Trump, 3, white nationalism. I'll take it. And again, the use of the wording like invasion, insurrection, means they're coming for us all. All of us are now enemies of the state, basically. This is essentially Hitler's Reichstag fire decree. Like, almost 1-to-1. This is basically the Reichstag decree that suspended civil rights and flooded law enforcement with, like, a bunch of power in Nazi Germany. It's not a direct comparison. It's also very similar to, like, how Putin would do crackdowns, or like China in the cases where they use military police to enforce like loyalty and enforcement. And this will also end up with them stealing money from you because A, the prison industry is getting subsidized here. We're building more camps. Again, these are private labor camps. So you're going to be a slave in these camps. And then the military contractors get paid because now we got to arm all of these cops with special like military gear. And AI firms also added in like Palantir, which is also going to work with law enforcement. This is as bad as it can really get, really. This, again, to me, seems worst case scenario. It would have been less bad had they just done martial law properly, because people would have at least known, paid attention, maybe resisted some of it. I don't think Americans have the sauce to nationalize our industry. The private market would win. Well, I don't think they are going to necessarily. I think more the nation has just been privatized. It's the other way around now. It's like horseshoe theory, but with capitalism instead of communism, and the other end is Nazism. So, like, you're either a Nazi where you nationalize the industry, but not in the socialist way, or you go all the way to the other end where you are hyper-capitalist and you privatize industry in the Nazi way. That would be a major difference between National Socialism. Yeah, exactly. It's a new horseshoe theory, just with capitalism. And actually, that one makes more sense than proper horseshoe theory. They are farming us. We're going to be biofuel in not too long. And, I mean, like, this happened today. Well, they're Russifying us, obviously. This happened today, by the way. So this is now after these orders have passed. Now, It said that there's 30 days until some of this is implemented, but we know that they are implemented like immediately. It just takes some time for it to go into full effect. This is what's happening. These were citizens, by the way.
New at 10, a family traumatized after armed federal agents busted into their home as they were sleeping and took almost everything they own. Problem is, they were not the people agents were supposed to be looking for.
News 4's Spencer Humphrey is here with their frightening ordeal. Spencer, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, get this. That family just moved here about 2 weeks ago from out of state, and this is how their life in Oklahoma got started. They say they told federal immigration agents they had the wrong people, but those agents kept treating them like criminals, even though they're all U.S. citizens.
And now they're literally allowed to just do whatever the hell they want. They could just kill these people. Doesn't matter if they're citizens. What's up, Shuva Poofer?
Fear.
I did feel at times that I was gonna die.
So much fear.
I kept praying. I said, God, please let me live through this moment.
Humiliation.
I was a zero. I was nothing.
Pure disbelief.
I just couldn't understand how
Like,
was this happening.
these new executive orders are terrifying,
just for wanting
guys.
a fresh start.
Take this shit seriously. This happened 2 days after those were put out. They can do whatever they want now. We're in martial law now.
To go home and you get treated like this. For what?
This woman, who we're calling Marissa, and her 3 daughters came to Oklahoma from Maryland looking for a slower, more affordable pace of life. They rented this house in a nice, seemingly safe northwest Oklahoma City neighborhood. Her husband planned to join them this past weekend, but any semblance they had of comfort went out the window when 20 men armed to the teeth busted through it Thursday morning.
I don't know who they were. They had guns.
I just realized I hadn't linked those in YouTube chat yet.
It was dark. All the lights were off.
They were federal agents, Marissa says, with the U.S. Marshals, ICE, and the FBI.
And I kept asking them, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What's happening? And they said, we have a warrant for the house.
They ordered Marissa and her daughters outside.
Well, obviously, this ain't new for the United States. In fact, I referenced both Jim Crow and McCarthyism in this. And I also have talked about the genocide of the natives before as well. Like, it's not like this, but it is new. It is new. Because we used to do this to other people. Now, this is to everybody. It's literally the Nazis this time. Like, literally the Nazis this time. Do you not, like, hear what this woman is going through? This is an American citizen who is not in any way at fault here. They were at the wrong house.
Into the rain before they could even get dressed.
They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between all of them.
The thing is, the suspect names on that search warrant were not Marissa's or anyone in her family's. They were, however, names listed on mail.
There's never been a time in the United States in the modern day where the police could come into your house, break your door down, shoot you, an American citizen, in the face and face no consequences. We still had a constitution.
Arriving at the house, former residents,
Goddamn right.
We just moved here from Maryland. We're citizens. That's what I kept saying. We're citizens.
She says they didn't care.
We weren't criminals. Why were they treating us
They
like
literally
criminals?
said they didn't
We were here by
care.
ourselves, that we didn't do anything.
The agents ripped apart every square inch of the house, taking their phones, laptops.
I mean, that has happened before, but I mean in modern America, and I mean on a broad scale to the point where literally nobody is safe unless you bow down to the fascist god emperor.
Documents and
That's
their
never
life
happened.
savings in cash as evidence.
Nixon was the proto-Trump, right? Vietnam War was a time in which there was violence done by the police. We had the Kent State massacre to the student protesters at Kent State, for example. That was one thing, right? The drug war as another thing that did give the police more rights, but they were never able, they were never able to just do anything they want with impunity in our modern day. The closest we ever got was during the Patriot Act. And even then, there were 1 to 2 steps that they also had to do of some kind of accountability. Like, there was, at the very least, the Supreme Court that mattered. Now the Supreme Court would have been fine with it, but like, let's say a lawsuit regarding the Patriot Act went all the way up to the Supreme Court. It was not 100% chance that if, I don't know, let's say the Supreme Court ruled in our favor against the state, that the state would actually, like, there was a chance that they would do it.
Feed my children.
Abide by the law. The Constitution used to matter.
Get around. Like, how do you just leave me like this, like an abandoned dog?
And when they left, they told her something.
I know it was a little rough this morning. It was so denigrating. Like, you do all of this to a family, to women, your fellow citizens, and it was a little rough. You have literally traumatized me and my daughters for life.
This family has virtually nothing.
And I said, when are we gonna get our stuff back? He was like, it could be days or it could be months.
Nothing but questions.
This is demon shit.
What if I would have been armed? What if you're breaking in? What am I supposed to think? My initial thought is we were being robbed. My daughter's female daughter's being kidnapped.
Nothing but likely lifelong trauma.
We have guns pointed at our faces. Can you just reprogram yourself and see us as humans, as women, a little bit of mercy and care a little bit about your fellow?
No, sorry, they don't, and they will never, because they are incapable of it. It's been bred out of us mentally through exactly the identity fragmentation that we discussed at length yesterday. That's how we got here. This type of shit used to not happen in American communities, in rural Oklahoma. This is a rural American community. These people are likely Republicans, right? Back in the day, there was at least some kind of investment that you made in your community and your community made in you. You cared about the people that lived around you. And now nobody cares about anybody aside from their immediate circle. And so a lot of people watch this and they're like, oh, that sucks. And then they move on. They don't actually feel it. They just say, oh, that's shitty. It has happened, but it was black people. I mean, fair. I did mean broadly to everybody. You don't need to have... Yeah, the cops are gonna love the... Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize they didn't put the video back on. The cops are gonna love the fact that they get to do whatever they want now, that they have immunity. You know, like, every cop that has a Punisher tattoo is going to be out there, like, specifically aiming for the kill shot now. And no, you're not a horrible person, Dead Soccer. What's up, Bavaria?
A little bit about your fellow human mate, about your fellow citizen, like, fellow resident.
I don't feel much sympathy for...
We bleed just like anybody else bleeds.
I feel a lot of sympathy for her, but not...
You could see in our faces that we were terrified.
And Marissa told us the agents wouldn't even leave her a business card. She says she has no idea who to contact to get her things back. We reached out to the FBI. They told us they were simply assisting on this case and that we'd need to contact Homeland Security. A spokesperson for Homeland Security told us they'll look into it and get back with us. Well, we checked back today and nobody responded. Yeah, and then now they're gonna say, oh no, sorry, you gotta check back with the military because we handed that one off to the military. And the military's gonna say, no, check back with the National Guard. Actually, we said that was more of a National Guard thing. And then, like, yeah. I feel Stalin had a point when dealing with the Nazis. Stalin did have a point with dealing with the Nazis, I will say. They are so fucking rabid to live out their video game dreams that they bust into the incorrect home and then still go crazy. Yeah. Like, that's the world we live in. Again, this is now a crime.
It's time for us to be done with optimism about their motives.
Mate, I'm not wearing jeans, and you can't see my ass. Do you want to get banned, or do you want to learn about martial law?
Or their objectives. Time to stop wondering if you can trust the nuclear codes to people who don't know how to organize a group chat. It's time to stop ignoring the hypocrisy in wearing a big gold cross while announcing the defunding of children's cancer research. And time to stop thinking that we can reason or negotiate with a madman.
This is now illegal. What he, like, not just, like, doing the actions. It is now illegal for him to be saying these things.
Time to stop apologizing when we were not wrong. Time to stop surrendering when we need to fight. Our small businesses don't deserve to be bankrupted by unsustainable tariffs. Our retirees don't deserve to be left destitute by a Social Security Administration decimated by Elon Musk. Our citizens don't deserve to lose health care coverage because Republicans want to hand a tax cut to billionaires. Our federal...
We get some good chatters in YouTube chat, like Lanky Sapien's always a based one, and like Dan Ditso's on YouTube chat. There's a few good ones.
Federal workers don't deserve to have, well, a 19-year-old Doge bro called Big Balls destroy their careers. Autistic...
Yeah, he's right. It's just illegal for him to say it now.
And adults who are loving contributors to our society don't deserve to be stigmatized by a weird Nepo baby who once stashed a dead bear in the backseat of his car. Our military service members don't deserve to be told by a washed-up Fox TV commentator who drank too much and committed sexual assault before being appointed Secretary of Defense that they can't serve their country simply because they're black or gay or a woman.
Hey, look, it might be his last chance. He might be going to the gulags after this one, so I'd go for it. He followed this by saying, those do-nothing Democrats want to blame our losses on our defense of black people and trans kids and immigrants instead of their own lack of guts and gumption, Pritzker said. He lambasted pundits and scorned those flocking to podcasts to criticize their colleagues for not caring about the working class. The same people, he argued, who, when it comes to the relief of the struggles of real people, have been timid, not bold. Shots fired directly at Gavin Newsom over there for that one. And yeah, that is true, Lanky Sapien. In for a penny, in for a pound, I suppose. Look, guys, like, again, that shit's terrifying. The fact that you can't protest anymore, you can't do anything anymore legally. Everything is illegal. Everything. All of it. Any resistance, any kind of, well, fuck you guys, fuck the government, call me saying that I'm a enemy of the United States government is now me committing, I've just committed a crime, I think. Maybe, I'm not sure, because it's so very vaguely written that it could be that, it could not be. Who the hell could possibly know? Aside from, I don't know, the guy who wrote it himself. I mean, to be fair, it might have been written by AI. It probably was written by AI, let's be honest here. But hey, look, I do have a little tiny bit of good news. So we all know that Canada won in their election yesterday, but to make it even better,
the Canadian capital is traditionally a Liberal heartland, and on Tuesday, voters there were satisfied with Mark Carney's win, seeing the former banker as someone who could steer Canada through the turmoil left by Donald Trump's tariffs.
I think that the country voted correctly, if I may be so bold.
I think Carney's the best guy to stand up to what's happening south of the border. I like that he's an economist expert. I like that he's worked in the private sector.
Mark Carney donned a hockey sweatshirt, a nod to Canada's national sport, to celebrate his party's success, which was unimaginable just a few months ago. But after campaigning on a promise to stand up to Trump, Carney will lead the Liberal Party to a fourth term in office, albeit without a parliamentary majority.
That's fine.
Prior to Trump's return
I don't care about you, or get to the part where, yeah, here we go. The best part of all of this, the like, God, if this happens in Australia with Dutton, I will actually like die.
So we'll see what happens to this.
The biggest loser in this election is perhaps Conservative Pierre Poilievre, whose similarities to Trump may have ultimately cost him his party's 25-point lead in the space of a few months,
He lost
as
his
well as a
seat.
seat he had held for 20 years.
He lost his parliamentary seat. That's how bad he lost to Mark Carney. Or rather, that's how bad the Conservatives lost to the Liberals, is that their frontman lost his parliamentary seat. Please, please make this happen with Peter Dutton. That would be fantastic. We should look at Great Depression food recipes. You should get the fuck out of America. Honestly, I'm not kidding. Go cross the border into Canada. Go cross the border into Mexico. Apply for asylum. Leave now. Leave right now. Like that, what I just read to you, these two orders should be the alarm bells in your head. This is the final call. Like, you know, boarding is about to finish. Plane's boarding. Get the fuck on or you're staying here. Oh, and also Andrew Tate is gay as fuck. This is just ridiculousness. I'm just killing time now until it's time for Whick to come on, just because I don't want to go into any of the proper like serious topics and then jump back and forth. But according to Tate, sex is for making children. Any man who has sex with women because it feels good is gay. And if you're 40 with less than 5 kids, that you're probably gay. Just fuck men already, dude. You hate women. Lost the seat he had for 20 years. Holy shit. Oh, and Gamergate discourse is back. These people are just like looking for anything to rage over. Personally, like to say that you would prefer this to this is insanity to me. This looks so good. Look at the texture quality on this fur fucking jacket. And you want it to look like that? Get the fuck out of here. This is Gamergate returning with Oblivion remastered. Back in the day, they woke Oblivion, yeah. I've played like an hour of it. It's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I've never played the original Oblivion because I came into it with Skyrim, so I'm excited to actually get through it. Guys, like that, I'm still putting together in my head just how bad this is gonna be with the martial law light. Gonna love to see your bitch ass excuses while you keep bailing on Wick's panels. Motherfucker, I left that last panel because I was infinitely smarter than everybody else there, to the point where anything that I said was going to be so misinterpreted that it was not worth saying. I've yet to lose a debate on Wick's panels, and honestly, I'm done debating. I keep winning. I'm tired of winning. I've won so much that I'm tired of it. So, you can have whatever kind of neuroses that you like, but don't project that onto other people, honey. It's rude. Maybe you should stick around for this chat with Whick, because we're going to be talking about how to feel uncomfortable and to regulate your emotions. And it seems like you might be able to benefit from that.
You're so angry all the time. Why don't you try making some more approachable content? In the 2000s, when I was working in Nicaragua, I was riding in a taxi with my friends.
I cried demons? No, I call people demons because they're demons. You sound like a ghoul. See, if you knew anything about me, if you'd watched maybe like 5 minutes of my content, you'd know that I regularly refer to right-wingers as zombies, ghouls, liches, demons, and vampires. You can go away now. It's a shame that you really can't ban people permanently on YouTube chat. I wish you could.
A tent city. I said, what is that? And they said, oh, that's the farmers. And I said, why are a bunch of farmers in a tent city in the middle of the capital? They kept saying this word over and over again. Nemagon. American fruit companies.
They just can't handle the
regularly
V.
buy up entire villages and communities, massive swaths of land in Latin America to grow and
You're right,
produce
White
fruit for
Cameron.
American consumers. Bananas, in this case. Dole bananas, specifically. Dole treats their workers and the land that they live on as expendable resources. They regularly enslaved entire villages and
Going back to Ditsocker's point earlier, it's not like we haven't done this before as America. We just didn't tend to do it to ourselves.
them. And if the
Example.
workers said,
You can
"Hey, wait a
expect
minute,
this to be America now. Those people accepted the label demon as well.
you have to pay us,"
That was
we'll just
great.
murder them outright. But that's not what this is about. In the 1950s, Dow Chemical and Shell Oil created a pesticide called Nemagon. It was extraordinarily dangerous. It was banned in the United States, but Dow and Shell and Dole said, well, we can still keep using it in those Latin American communities that we own. They sprayed Nemagon over millions of banana trees while
Why do you think we're getting rid of all of the environmental regulations?
the workers were in the field, while they were eating their lunch, while their wives and children were visiting them. They didn't give them
Oh,
any
it's
warning. They didn't give
absolutely
them
still is doing so,
protective
yeah.
gear or masks or goggles. They just sprayed them like they were part of the landscape. The first flag was extremely high cancer rates. It started popping up all throughout the population, and then the miscarriages started. Some mothers didn't miscarry, and when they gave birth, the children were mutated. It was an
The callous disregard for human life is a feature of capitalism. It's not a bug.
unimaginable catastrophe. It destroyed entire communities. They had nothing. And when these companies saw what was happening, they lied and they tried to bury it. They hired lawyers and tried to blame the workers. And so these communities full of people who were dying and mutated made their way to the capital city. They took garbage bags and they made tents out of them, because the only recourse they had was to try to get people to look on their mangled bodies
Yeah,
and
the
realize what
food
they'd
industry
done.
is some of the
They lived
worst.
in that
I've said
tent
this
city
many a
for
time.
decades, desperately trying to
Especially
get people to listen,
America's.
desperate for justice. That's one of hundreds of stories, thousands, so that you can have whatever you want in your grocery stores 24 hours a day. That's
We're
the
making
cost
cancer great
of
again,
your
everyone.
lifestyle.
It's true.
Human misery and suffering on a level we can't even comprehend. What's wrong with you? That people being angry and real in the face of injustice upsets you, but people being mutated so that you can have cheap bananas doesn't.
I can tell you why. It's because they're incapable of feeling discomfort, just like every other fucking problem that we have. All right, give me a second. I have to go and pee, and then we're going to watch a fun little video that should be just long enough for us to still make it in time for the fun little chat with Whick. Ah, shit, I didn't fill the cat food again. 2 more seconds. let's get back into it. Yeah, the bananas are evil. And also, by the way, the Cavendish is going extinct for the same reason that the hard mic, I think, was what it was called. I'm not actually joking. I think actually it might have been called the hard mic banana. Hard mic banana. It was the big mic, not the hard mic. It was the big mic banana. Yeah, the Gros Michael, the big mic. All right. Hey guys, Chernobyl is no longer safe, and that's a problem. So a couple weeks ago, there was a drone strike on Chernobyl by Russia, and it did penetrate like the outer shell of the sarcophagus around Chernobyl, but I didn't realize that it was this bad, because it's really bad.
We have a problem.
New overnight, a Russian
attack struck by a Russian
over the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
On February 14th, Russia flew a kamikaze drone into Chernobyl. Yes, that Chernobyl, the nuclear power plant that was the site of the worst radioactive accident in the history of humanity. Now, there's a hole through the protective shell or sarcophagus that guards Chernobyl big enough to drop an SUV through. We're here to tell you why this is a way bigger deal than you may have
drop an SUV through. That's pretty fucking bad.
thought, and what Russia's game is.
Добрый вечер, товарищи. Все вы знаете, недавно нас постигла беда. Авария на Чернобыльской атомной электростанции.
Chernobyl is one of the few pieces of Ukrainian history that nearly everyone in the world has heard of. At the time of the accident in 1986, only 5% of the radioactive reactor core was scattered into the environment. That was enough to leave 1,000 square miles surrounding the Chernobyl power plant uninhabitable to the present day. It's an area known as the exclusion zone. The explosion at Chernobyl released 400 times more radiation than the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima during World War II. All of that from just 5% of the reactor's contents. Mostly uranium, plutonium, and the resulting molten mess termed corium. The reactor melted down exactly 39 years ago tonight at 1:23 in the morning. Since then, over 200
It wasn't tonight. It was actually 4 days ago, but
tons of radioactive material have remained within the new safe confinement, the official name of the sarcophagus shielding the destroyed plant. To understand the situation caused by Russia's drone strike on Chernobyl, let's talk about what this sarcophagus is.
No, don't be
and
sorry.
How it works.
Thanks for doing it for me.
So first, why did we need any type of confinement? And by that I mean, what exactly is it confining? Radiation is commonly depicted in pop culture as a glowing light. That kind of radiation, electromagnetic radiation, is fairly common, and much of it is benign. In addition to visible light, electromagnetic radiation includes radio and microwaves, X-rays, and also highly dangerous gamma rays, all of which erupted from Chernobyl. But this was not the most dangerous radiation that the Chernobyl meltdown released. Think of pollen, which trees release and the wind picks up and carries it everywhere, to other trees and flowers, but also onto your skin and, as anyone with allergies knows, up your nose. Now multiply that by about 1 million times. That's particle radiation. That was the main threat of Chernobyl. 4 tons of radioactive dust is still sitting inside the destroyed nuclear reactor under the sarcophagus, along with a mountain of other nuclear nastiness. Soviet authorities scrambled to construct an enclosure in just 7 months.
Except
the original goal
it was the Soviets who put it together, so it was kind of shit.
Remains to keep these radioactive particles and dust under lock and key, rather than let them float off with the wind or seep into the surface or groundwater. They tried to limit contamination.
Oh, Blanky Sapien, you know they've also been like shelling Zaporizhia since the beginning of the war.
However, bothered to weld the enclosure shut or
right
bolt
on
its
it,
joints
but
together,
close.
leaving rainwater free to creep in through the unsealed roof. In short, it was a band-aid over a bullet wound, but that was the idea. It was designed to last.
It wasn't that bad, but
in short, it was a band-aid over a bullet wound, but that was the idea. It was designed to last 20 or 30 years, but it corroded quickly, becoming hazardously unstable. In fact, the enclosure had to be stabilized with external scaffolding in 2008 to prevent a collapse. So they needed a new solution, something that had never been done before. But first, The Kyiv Independent is entirely member funded, and it's your support that allows us to tell stories like this one. Become our member by following a link in the description below. Now back to the story. The new safe confinement, the official name for the new sarcophagus, was a momentous achievement. Until we looked at the actual measurements, we didn't truly appreciate its scale. It had to be large enough to enclose a 30-story building. That's like building a studio apartment for the Statue of Liberty, all the while trying to avoid collapsing the existing unstable structure beneath, or exposing people working on the enclosure to dangerous levels of radiation. The sarcophagus cost nearly $2 billion and took almost a decade to complete. It was designed to last 100 years and withstand the most extreme temperatures and dangerous natural disasters, from earthquakes to tornadoes. What they didn't plan for was a war. In February this year, Russia did something mind-boggling. And now, this relatively new $2 billion sarcophagus, a protective shield between humanity and the worst nuclear disaster in human history.
And it gets worse than an SUV-sized hole.
Is no longer doing what it was designed to do.
Ніхто й не думав, що взагалі ми опинимося в ситуації, коли буде атакована Чорнобильська атомна станція, коли буде атакована новий безпечний конфайнмент. Для нас, звичайно, ми всі в умовах війни, може бути атакований будь-який об'єкт, але це вже верх цинізму і безвідповідальності був з боку росіян.
When Russia blasted through the nearly 40-foot double walls of the new safe confinement, it short-circuited two critical functions in addition to opening a gaping hole. Contrary to what you might think, the new safe confinement is not hermetically sealed. It's not an airtight jar keeping everything in. How it works is that a specially designed ventilation system maintains a lower atmospheric pressure inside, about 5 to 8 pascals lower than the exterior, to be precise. Even if you skipped class in high school, we all have a basic understanding that airflow moves from high to low pressure. You poke a small hole in a balloon, the air leaks out. So, lower pressure inside the confinement pulls air inside rather than letting it outside. To do that, you need to have a controlled environment, something you can't really do with a hole in the side. That's the first problem.
So
the second is related
the Whick thing is in about 20 minutes. So now that air gets pulled in because there is lower pressure in the actual chamber, but then what's already in then moves out.
The arch's design. The strike on Chernobyl set off a chain reaction you likely didn't see on the news. You see, between the double walls of the confinement runs a layer of waterproof insulation. The insulation stopped moisture from corroding inside the sarcophagus. But once struck by a Russian drone, the insulation caught fire, which spread on the north and partially the south side of the confinement. It took emergency workers almost 3 weeks to put out the fire. And in that process, they had to punch new holes into the sarcophagus to find
about 200 more holes into it to be able to put the fire out.
The fire at different points in a game of radioactive whack-a-mole.
З 14 лютого по 3 березня в нас ще виникали об'єкти горіння, тління, і всього десь 200 отворів було зроблено під час гасіння загальною площею 50 метрів квадратних.
The $2 billion project was intended to be a once-in-a-century endeavor. So what happens now?
У нас ціль відновити на 100%. Ми повинні повернути герметичність об'єкту, ми повинні повернути всі функції, які від самого початку були закладені в даний об'єкт.
As summer approaches.
So that's so much worse than I could have imagined. Like obviously a hole in the side of Chernobyl's sarcophagus isn't good. But 200 holes in a system designed specifically to keep a lower pressure internally makes now the entire sarcophagus kind of the opposite of what it's supposed to do. It makes it so that that wind comes in and pushes what's been in the sarcophagus out, contaminating God knows how far across Europe around it. I know it isn't the point of the video, but have y'all heard of the fungus in Chernobyl that is adopted to get energy from using radiosynthesis? I think I have, or something like that. Pretty
Ukraine will enter
bad.
a rainy season. Temperatures will rise. Neither will help stave off corrosion.
Що стосується термінів взагалі по відновленню функціональності арки, то тут зараз важко сказати.
Another option would be to move the confinement away from the reactor. The 36,000-ton structure was essentially built on train tracks, so it's theoretically possible, but engineers are still figuring it out. In any case, it would be extremely risky to move the confinement due to the current condition of Chernobyl. So we're in a predicament, and it makes us wonder, what was the point of the attack? Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia has rattled the nuclear saber to sideline the world from intervening more directly on behalf of Ukraine. They shelled the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, as they captured in 2022. Russian airstrikes have at various points also narrowly missed the South Ukraine and Khmelnytsky nuclear
attack
power
other
plants.
nuclear
Not to
power
mention,
plants or close by them.
Russia has the world's largest nuclear arsenal, which Russian officials love bringing up in public statements. Threatening nuclear apocalypse appears to be central to Russia's foreign policy doctrine. Russia has denied each of these attacks, either in whole or in part, but intentionally attacking a nuclear power plant is a war crime.
Well, they're attacking energy and resources. Yes, I get that. And Ukraine is attacking Russia's energy infrastructure as well, like their oil refineries, except one is radioactive and the other isn't. And like Lanky Sapien did say, you're not supposed to turn areas you want to annex into a nuclear wasteland.
Enshrined in the Geneva Convention. But for argument's sake, perhaps Russia didn't intend to strike Chernobyl. The Gerin 2 kamikaze drone used in the attack can be accurate to within about 200 meters. The chances of hitting that one particular object within a 1,000 square mile exclusion zone by accident are quite low. Russia frequently launches its Gerin 2 drones over Chernobyl, and yet the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov denied Russia's involvement, calling it a fabrication and provocation from Kyiv.
Yes.
The Russian military...
Yes, Ukraine is bombing Chernobyl, is what Russia's saying.
...does not do this. So even if it was an accident, Russia still routinely and brazenly and ignorantly plays with fire and lies about it when it does. And this is not new for Russia. Here are declassified KGB documents telling state secrets concerning the Chernobyl accident. 1. The true reason of the accident.
Yes.
2. Amount of damage. 3.
But also everywhere else.
Amount and type of discharge from the meltdown. 7. Information about the scale of contamination. 15. The mass poisoning and diseases. It goes on and on. That was from July 28th, 1986, 3 months after.
Oh, journalists? You mean like this journalist? That was a Ukrainian journalist that captured by the Russians who was tortured. Her body was returned with missing organs like her eyes, her brain, part of her larynx. She had bruises, broken ribs, neck damage, electrical shock traces. She was 27. They raped her, they tortured her, they killed her.
The worst nuclear disaster in history. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev was silent about the accident for 18 days. When he finally emerged on Soviet television, he spoke about Chernobyl passively while using the same timeless whataboutism we hear from the Kremlin today.
Нельзя оставить без внимания и политической оценки, и то, как встретили события в Чернобыле правительство, политические деятели, средства массовой информации некоторых стран НАТО, особенно США. И ни слова о самом главном. Как прекратить гонку вооружений, как избавить мир от ядерной угрозы. Как все это понимать?
The accident had nothing to do with the nuclear arms race, nothing to do with America or the West. This wasn't a nuclear bomb test that went wrong. People outside Ukraine often may think what happens here doesn't impact them, but thinking how the Kremlin responded then and is acting now, we should be worried, even panicked by Russia's rhetoric.
Yes,
just as the
speaking of which, a lot of nuclear news lately.
The impact
So
of
that's pretty bad. What their end game here, it looks like to be a false flag type of shit. I can't, like, neither does that video know, and neither do I know what the fuck they want out of that. It makes no sense. But hold on, let me move my camera out of the way here so you guys can read the subtitles while we watch some Russian propaganda media and see what they're talking about. Stop defending Europe, you're always saying, strike America.
Защищать Европу. Вечно вы
Я не
хотите.
защищаю
Бейте типа по Америке.
Я не защищаю Европу.
Рядом. Можно в самом
Я не защищаю Европу. Тем паче, что сейчас защищать-то там нечего. По сути
Вот,
дела, потому что
молодец.
с европейцами
Уже
договориться
лучше.
невозможно. Нет,
Вот,
всегда
молодец.
говорил, что, слушайте, с европейцами договориться невозможно. Просто я
To reach an agreement with the Europeans, I just don't agree
не
with the
согласен
extremes.
с крайностями.
Какая
Сразу
крайность?
применять ядерное оружие.
Ну и что?
Зачем? Смысл какой?
They're arguing whether or not using nukes on Europe would just be a good way to start a war.
Его применят по нам. Дальше что
Кто
будет?
по нам применит?
Штаты те же.
Зачем? Почему удар по Европе?
Why should a strike on Europe lead to a nuclear strike on Russia? Why all of a sudden? Literally, like, if we nuclear strike Russia, like Europe, why would we get nuclear striked back? Is what they're discussing.
Европе? Стоп. Вот реально. Почему удар по Европе должен привести к удару ядерным оружием по России? С какой радости? Зачем Америке быть уничтоженной
Why should America be destroyed for the sake of Europe?
ради Европы?
As if
быть уничтожен?
А очень просто, потому что они хорошо понимают.
they understand very well that our system works in such a way that if any strike is made
Что у
against
нас
Russia,
система заложенная, работает таким образом, что при нанесении любого удара в сторону России у нас осуществляется
a program is implemented that instantly turns the whole of America into dust. I'm sure all of your nukes are fully fueled up and are functional.
программа, которая моментально превращает всю Америку в пыль.
Если есть будет удар на
Say, if we strike Europe, who gives the United States a guarantee that the next strike won't be against them?
нанесен нами, скажем, по Европе, кто дает гарантию Соединенных Штатов, что следующий удар не будет нанесен по
Наличие
ним.
у них ядерных
Their nuclear weapons and mutual destruction program. You know, France also has nukes, and so does the UK. But, you know, apparently that doesn't matter.
Уничтожения. Это как раз то, что удерживает нас с
What's up,
Америкой
story
от
girl?
взаимного удара. У Европы аналогичной программы нет.
Oh, of course, this is hardly new. It's just in relation to what happened in Chernobyl and all of that. Like, obviously, they have no plan to hit us, but they're just openly talking about nuking Europe. And that should be concerning. Like, it should be. They constantly will bullshit about nukes. Like, they're not going to nuke Europe, but we don't know anymore. Maybe like 5 years ago. I still to this day think that the use of a nuclear weapon would not be helpful to any, like, military effort. I don't think it would, but I could be wrong. Like, they're wanting mass depopulation. I mean, that could be a reason, but it's like the population density of Russia requires like 2 European nukes to land on Russia for it to pretty much wipe them out. Hold on. Population density map of Russia. I want one of those that have the spikes that go up. Bar graph. That's what it'd be, right? What are those types of graphs called? Australia looks like an even better option to flee to. It is, indeed, right now. Although we aren't exactly unsafe from nuclear targets. We aren't exactly safe from nuclear targets here. Here, that's St. Petersburg and that's Moscow. That's your fucking population density? You think that it's a good idea to threaten people with nukes? I don't think so. Well, I think all of the relations of nuclear power, we've never been closer. That's true. All right. Let me start to get set up so I can switch over to Discord and we can have Whick on to chat. I'm going to need like a couple minutes because I need to change some settings around with my camera because it doesn't like it. Stay tuned. I'll be back in 2 secs. It might be early. Oops. And my camera's off now. So we're gonna have to wait with this screen on because my camera is frozen and I have nothing actually to put up on the camera until Whick calls back. My fault. We were 5 minutes early. If you got one, I suppose the Australian sun is the only way to go with what? Solar panels? If Labour wins, they'll go to China. If the Libs, they'll go to Europe for an alliance. Don't be so sure. Just actually, good timing for this one. Australian Abrams tanks. This is one of the things that actually kind of made me afraid for my own safety in relation to these new EOs. Let's turn my camera off for a second. Is the transfer of Abrams tanks from Australia to Ukraine stalled due to US resistance. And this came out yesterday. And the current government in Australia is the Labour Party. So either they need more of a mandate or, you know, whatever it is. Australia is not entirely terrible, but if you can afford the real estate, New Zealand is not fundamentally better. New Zealand has a much larger, like, Nazi base, fascist base, really, in general. They're much less LGBT friendly, and Peter Thiel has his own private military, like, private security bunker in New Zealand. Australia has fundamentally been a corporatist fascist state in a low-key way for the last 30 years, but that's only because we've been a US pawn. Australia is just a US colony. If we broke away from being a US colony, we would be less so. Yeah, actually. New Zealand is not better. Honestly, look, if, depending on how this election goes, I might need to learn Mandarin and move to China. Come on, Whick. God damn it. Whatever, I'm turning my camera back on while we wait. Aye. What is he doing? I don't know, guys. Like, it's bad. It's bad. I have some fun stuff to talk about after this, though. This conversation isn't gonna be, like, super duper long. And it's not a debate. Like, we're just talking. In fact, I want to talk a lot more about the emotional resilience type of thing that I've been talking to you guys about, and we're definitely going to touch on some of the Hitlerite shit that's happening in the US, especially with the martial law declaration from today, or the martial law light declaration from today. I mean, if you want to stay and fight, that's fine, but you saying that now already is illegal. Like, you just saying that put you in danger. It's not a Fed post, but it puts you in danger. Calling Donald Trump Donald Shitler puts you in danger. I don't understand how New Zealand went from vegan utopia to Nazi central in a period of 6 years. I blame Peter Thiel. I blame Peter Thiel. Am I getting snubbed for this? I would comment at this chicken, but I don't want to get banned. But let's just say I don't necessarily disagree with you all that much, or really much at all. I feel like that's just enough obfuscation for the attention span of the average conservative. Well, he's not a New Zealand oligarch. He does live in America, and he's from South Africa, but he does also have a bunker in New Zealand. He does often go to New Zealand, and I'm sure he fucks with it there. Well, while we're waiting, in the meantime, Wisconsin confirms that 10% of its deer population is now infected with chronic wasting disease. Is this not like the joke zombie virus infection that we said a while back? I'm kind of thinking that a nation who seeds out conscripts with bikes doesn't have the resources to maintain their stockpile too well. Yeah, I agree with you, Lanky Sapien. Sorry, I have YouTube chat, like, on another window today. Yeah, there's plenty of Nazis everywhere these days. What's the point in being imprisoned when you can try to get out of it? Because they make you do labor there. Yeah, it's been going on for a couple years, Prion and the Deer. Yeah, this is the zombie virus thing. It wasn't in Wisconsin, though. Last I heard, that was mostly in Canada. And they're predicting a drought this year. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm currently in a drought. And it's been pretty bad. It rained for like the first time in 3 months here, just like the other day, and it was barely noticeable. It's been in the Midwest parts for 2 years. Well, yeah. Southern California, Nevada, New Mexico, like that's all that's pretty much just a drought zone. So if it goes into humans, the zombie plague would be so based. I'd love that timeline. I wouldn't. We have enough zombies as it is. The corporate media here in Australia normalizes neo-Nazi gatherings but demonizes pro-Palestinian gatherings. That's true, because it's the same as the Murdoch media. Except in Australia, when the Nazis do a gathering, the police show up on horseback and beat the shit out of them and arrest them, because it's illegal to be a Nazi here. So, there's at least that. That's positive. It's always fun to watch. Actually, let me pull up that video. It's been a while since we watched the Nazis getting chased on horseback.
South Australia police have arrested 16 far-right activists who disrupted the start of the Survival Day rally in Adelaide CBD. Our reporter Rachel Merritt is across the details. Rachel, shocking scenes. We're expecting to see these people in court tomorrow.
Good morning, Gemma. Yes, like you said, some very shocking scenes here yesterday. Police have arrested 16 far-right activists following a march through...
They're all over. I've seen them in, like, Brisbane and Melbourne, Adelaide. I haven't heard of many in Perth so far, but Sydney, like, they're all over.
The Adelaide CBD on Australia Day yesterday. The group of around 30 people was seen carrying Australian flags and chanting White Australia slogans as they marched through the CBD and as well in front of the National War Memorial. Police say those arrested were part of a group known as the National Socialist Network.
Which I don't know how that's not illegal in general, because like the existence of the National Socialist Network should technically be going against that of the Anti-Discrimination Act article, what was it, C9 or B7 or whatever the fuck it is.
Charged with various offences, including possessing articles of disguise as...
Yo, Viz, have you seen that BS fear-mongering liberal ad where there's the tradie dad and the nurse mom, and then the they're at a diner and the electricity all goes out because of labor, and then no, I haven't, and I'd like please link that. That's wild.
As well as resisting arrest from police. One of those has also been arrested and charged with displaying a Nazi symbol. The majority of those arrested yesterday were from interstate, the youngest of those being a 16-year-old boy from Victoria. We've heard as well this morning from South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas has released a statement. He said it's utterly disgraceful that these so-called neo-Nazis have come from interstate to protest.
The fact that they even call them neo-Nazis. Like in America, even under like Biden, under Obama, they never used that kind of language.
In front of this sacred memorial that commemorates the exact thing so many South Australians fought against and paid the ultimate sacrifice. He goes on to say racism and intolerance have no place in Australia. He utterly condemns the actions of those who
Wait. Is this not the... God damn it. I thought that this was all leading to the fucking horses. All right, well, here we go. I'll find the one with the horses actually chasing them, because that was incredible. Aha, here we go.
Group of neo-Nazis Prime Minister
in honour, all but ranging 15 men and one teenager aged just 16 are facing serious charges ranging from displaying a Nazi symbol to possessing articles of disguise. All but one of the men travelled from interstate, including WA and Tasmania, to take part in the display.
When I saw the images, I was stunned.
Are you not the one either?
From here.
Because of this, it could impact their bail conditions and whether a magistrate will allow them to return home under strict order.
God damn, why can't I find this video today? There's like 15 of these. There's them facing court. Ah, there we go.
Police have arrested 16 far-right
Give me like actual arrests
network.
showing them.
Australian
I hate fucking ABC News. Fuck off. Fuck off. It doesn't seem like Whick is calling. So, I guess we're just gonna continue on with stream until he does. Or doesn't. Oh, what's Buddy fucking... Oh, actually, now he is calling. Alright. Now I gotta shut the camera off again. 1 second. Hello, hello, Whick.
Hey, let me equalize our videos here.
Fair
I was
enough.
just talking to my audience a little bit about the Pope tweet, and people were like, "Oh, he's just joking. He's just joking. You shouldn't take that seriously."
What
But
Pope tweet?
I'm sorry. I started to just get into this, but it's on my mind. And
What
we'll
is
do
it?
the introductions in a second. I DM'd it to you earlier, right? Lindsey Graham made a tweet, okay, saying that he was because Trump made a joke about wanting to be the Pope on Fox News, right? He said, "I could be the Pope. I'd make a good Pope," something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And Lindsey Graham comes out with a tweet, okay, says, "I was excited to hear that President Trump is open to the idea of being the next Pope. This would be a true dark horse candidate. But I would ask the Papal Conclave and the Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about this possibility. The first Pope/U.S. president combination has many upsides. Watching for white smoke, Trump 2028. Like, I understand the farcical nature of it. I get it. But I don't think people understand. This is, and I was telling my audience this is like your friend who jokes about wanting to sleep with you. He's not joking.
Yeah, they're not joking.
He would.
No, I agree. And I keep saying this anytime someone brings up like that third term bullshit, I'm like, stop mentioning it, because every time you talk about it, you validate its existence. Whenever someone says that, you just pat them on the shoulder, be like, yeah, all right, have a good night, buddy, and then walk away. Just entire contempt is the only way to deal with it, because otherwise you normalize the idea of it. Anyway,
I don't know.
welcome to the channel, Whick. Most of my chat is
hi.
familiar with you, but anyone who isn't, this is Whick, Whick TV, and I will say, I was gonna say, you're not on Twitch, are you? Because I can't give you a proper shout out.
I am on Twitch.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Well, then
I'm
I
on Twitch
shall give you
/ Whick TV. I get many more viewers on YouTube usually than Twitch.
Whick
but,
TV. There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out given. Go drop a follow on YouTube as well. So, it's been an eventful morning. I spent it covering the functional martial law light declaration that we had put forward, and I did see the post that you made about the Oklahoma family. I covered a video on that one as well, actually. It's really bad. It's not going to get any better. And this is why I wanted to talk a lot about emotional regulation with you, especially emotional resilience, because I've been noticing, at least with my chat and my community, that a lot of people are feeling hopeless and are burning out and are just wanting to tune out of politics. And generally, like, they want you to do that. That's why they flood the zone the way that they do. They've not even like tried to hide that. They've stated it outright. And so learning how to see these things day in and day out without burning out, I think, is important.
Well, let me ask you, I guess, first of all, do you think that people have a responsibility to, I guess, what's a good way of putting it, to throw their hat in the ring when it comes to political discussions, to political topics, to political activism, whatever you want to call it, right? Do you think that, because there's a lot of people, I would say, that you don't you don't owe anyone your energy. You don't owe anyone your time. You don't owe any cause your mental health. But at the same time, I think that there are causes that absolutely deserve suffering for you to be willing to sacrifice for. And one of those things that I think that you should be willing to sacrifice is somewhat of your peace in order to stand up against certain things.
I agree.
Now, I don't think any kind of drama slop is that. Like the whole did you hear that Ethan Klein and Hassan are having a debate on Friday?
No, I didn't, and I couldn't care less.
Well, a lot of people are going to sacrifice their mental health for that. I'm not, but a lot of people are. But that's a stupid hill to die on, right? That's a stupid thing for you to put too much of your mental energy in. But if you can do it and you just find it fun, no harm, no foul. I'm probably going to cover it because I don't care about either of these people, right? It's fun for me. But when it comes down to like the real issues of the day, I think that there is a point where, yes, I think as a responsible adult, you do have a duty to exhaust yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
To talk about certain things. So emotional regulation is an interesting topic. When you say emotional regulation, maybe I guess
and resilience.
And resilience.
The two tie together.
What do you mean?
Well,
explain.
Well, so just going off what you said, I agree with you entirely. And I think that to be able to do that, to be able to sacrifice your peace, you also need to be able to know when to recharge your batteries. Like it's a marathon, not a sprint type of a situation here. And we all should feel like if you're looking at what's happening and you don't feel uncomfortable, like I am heavily judging you. And that discomfort that we feel from what we're looking at is something that we can use to fuel ourselves to continue and move forward and, fight the good fight. But it can also be employed against us to exhaust ourselves to the point where we're unable to continue the fight. And so when I say emotional resilience and emotional regulation skills, I mean this in like a massive, massive umbrella term. And I've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. I've been picking like one smaller aspect and then talking about that for a week and then moving on to a next one. So like the first week I was talking about you're not a passive victim to your own emotions. You're responsible for your emotional state and that you get to decide how you feel to a degree. You might not be able to decide the factors around you that are causing you to feel a certain way versus another, but you do get to decide am I going to spend my time on this mentally right now, or am I going to spend my mental energy on another thing? And how you go about framing that emotion matters. And all of that first comes from an ability to withhold discomfort in your body, like hold on to that and not have to react to it, because the right's ideology is built on reacting to anything that makes them uncomfortable. And then that moves on into other various subcategories building up resilience.
Do you worry sometimes that we have poo-pooed, for lack of that's the scientific term, right? We have denigrated emotionality to such an extent that passion is seen as weakness.
Yes, I do. I think that's
that
horrible.
Is something. Yeah, that is something that I worry about when we talk about emotional regulation, right? That is something I worry a little bit about. I understand not letting your emotions control you. I think that's very wise. I think that's a very stoic kind of way of dealing with things. And I like stoicism. I know it gets a lot of bad rap and stuff like that. But it's not about not feeling the emotions or even not expressing the emotions that you feel. It's about not letting those emotions dictate your actions.
Yeah.
So say you're getting really upset with someone that you're talking to, right? You could be upset. you can express that upsetness, but it would behoove you not to lash out due to that upsetness. Like you punch them in the face.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But to get to that point,
uncalled for.
I think you first need to be able to analyze your emotional state. And I've been referring to this as emotional outsourcing of rather than analyzing your emotional state. And let's say you are mad at somebody, but now that anger is all their fault and you're not internally analyzing, for example, where that anger comes from within you, why it's making you angry. Is it beneficial for you to be angry? Obviously, in the moment, it's difficult to do these things, but a practice outside of the moment leads into that. But to be able to make a educated decision based off of how you want to be perceived in any kind of context, whether it's like you're talking to somebody or your actions, you're going to want to be able to do so with all of the information.
I understand. I don't know. I think that people, I understand why they do this, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, but I worry that we worry too much about how other people see us. Like we hold back or we try to play the optics game, and that ends up coming off as ungenuine. Because I do want to talk about this, because a lot of the problems that I think the Democrats and the left in general have, for better or worse, and mostly worse, is I think that one of the things that we have is we are not seen as genuine. People look at the politicians that we have, other than maybe a couple, and they look at it and they're like, that's not a person. That's a person wearing a skin suit. And I worry that one of the reasons that a lot of people come across that way is because they're very worried about how they're going to look. I want to see more emotional outbursts, and I'm not kidding. I want to see more crash outs from Democratic politicians.
Yes,
okay?
but that's what I mean.
Go out, and I want to see them go on stage and call Trump a slur.
Goddamn right. I
That's
do too.
genuine.
Fuck yeah. That's exactly
That's
what
genuine.
I want. But you know what? Because I talked about this last stream. This is this week's topic, is the identity fragmentation we experience based on the various media platforms that we engage in. And just like you said, the Democrats and the left, and also the right does this to an extent too, but we're all subject to this fragmentation. Based on where we are, we frame our words differently. And authenticity is the only, the code switching versus like, if you're on LinkedIn, you're more professional, and then you go on Twitter and then you're a bit more like open about what you want to say. Maybe you're going to slay a slur. Maybe you're going to be a bit of a meanie head. Maybe then you go on Instagram and then you're curating like your best self. And we don't have a society that values authenticity, but we do at the same time. On a subconscious level, we do value authenticity, but on the conscious level, we're incentivized to curate ourselves. Everyone is a brand now, not just like content creators, but I mean, like branding is everything. It used to it started off with a corporation would just make goods and then, and that's now been applied to every human on the planet on social media.
But it's like a pendulum. I hate pendulum theory, but I'm going to use it now, right? Yes, there was a time where that was working, where people needed message control, where people needed this kind of, because it was all over the space, and people like organized things, and so we wanted to get organized, we want to get type messaging, we want to do this. But unfortunately, people are wise to the game. They've seen that, and they realize it's a game. They realize it's all manufactured. It's factory built. Okay, it's focus group tested.
Yep.
And they see that, and there's been a real big backlash towards that because it doesn't feel human.
Exactly.
And I'm not. I'm mostly memeing, right? When I say like go call him a slur, mostly memeing, not entirely memeing, right? But mostly memeing, right? But the reason I'm bringing this up in regards to emotional regulation is that I think I get what you're going with emotional regulation, but I do worry it's going to come across as focus group tested. Does that make sense?
I can understand if you're just focusing on, you know, like the title emotional regulation, but like the stuff that I talk about when I'm talking about it really doesn't have much to do with that at all. It's mostly talking about how these tools that exist to the people in power are using your emotions against you. And it's not about emotional really regulation, more so sovereignty, is taking ownership of yourself, taking ownership of the means of your emotional production, for example, is a term that I used as a kind of a,
okay.
yeah, that was me
hold
memeing a
on.
little bit, but like, let me put it to you this way. Most of us engage with the world, most of, let's say Americans as a population, engage with news content for entertainment or just general like socializing via social media. And social media is like, it's a powerful tool, right? But it doesn't work based on what's true. It works based on what drives engagement, and what drives engagement is things that have been shown to illicit, thank you, feelings of fear, feelings of dismay, anger, rage, disgust, and these emotions are the manufactured like product that you are consuming day after day. And then through the consumption of this medium, then your perception is shaped, because the way that we think about ourselves and the world around us is shaped by how we feel about not only ourselves, but the world around us. And then that then goes up another level into how we act in the world and engage with others around us. And this is a vicious cycle of whatever profits the wealthy is what is the downfall of not only our country, but our fundamental society of like human society, because this isn't an America specific issue. This is, I mean, pretty fucking global. Nobody believes in reality anymore because people don't want to engage with things that make them uncomfortable.
So I think that you're right and you're wrong, and let me explain. So I think that you are correct in that we have a situation where people don't want discomfort, but that's always been true. That's not new. The new thing isn't social media really, though that's one of the things that's new. It's the tools that we have to silence anyone we don't like, to block them, to mute them, to leave the Discord, to leave the debate, right? To do anything like that. It's so easy. It's a click of the button. Back when you had none of this and we had more communal infrastructure, such as, you know, churches, bowling alleys, etc., right? You had to go along to get along to an extent.
In-person social interaction. In-person social interaction, you mean, right?
Yes, in person.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't put a block button on someone, or well, you can, but it's much harder to do, right? Like it's much more serious, right?
It's not legal.
Yeah. There are ways of interacting in person that you just don't find online. But the fact that we do everything online now, and the fact that it's so easy to never have to hear anything you don't want to hear, has created the situation I think you're describing. So I think I think your diagnosis is correct, but your cure, at least the emotional regulation part of it, I don't know if that's going to actually fix it.
Well, it's part of the problem.
It's good advice just in general.
You're not wrong,
right? I don't think anyone's going to be ill done by doing it.
You're not wrong. It's not a cure. It's a tool to be able to continue to engage, because I do think that you're right, that more in-person social interaction is actually the tool that will fix this. Getting us off of solely engaging online, building third places outdoors, engaging with our communities around us. I mean, like talking to your neighbors, for example, working with people in your community to create community defense networks, as in, like, a well-regulated militia, as the Second Amendment entails.
Community defense network, is that what you're advocating for?
Well, a well-regulated militia that might protect a community over, let's say, police in a town where there's low trust in the police. Yeah, that could be an example. But it could also be that you work together with people in your town in the winter when it's cold as fuck. And some of these people you might not like. You might hate these people. But let's say all of you are poorer now because, the government fucked the economy, and now it is much more difficult to run the heater all day in your house. So maybe, let's say you have a group of friends in your neighborhood, at least neighbors, if not friends, where you can have a rotating basis of, all right, well, Mondays y'all can all come at my house and we'll heat this house, but then Tuesdays we're all going to Steve's house because then Steve pays the bill for Tuesday's heating. You can create, like, community is how we've survived through hard times as a species. And I'm not saying like any one of these is a cure-all solution, but I'm saying community is the way out. The way that we got here is because they were able to separate us from each other. We used to have investments in other people emotionally. We used to care about people that weren't in our immediate circle, at least hypothetically. If you lived on one side of town, someone who was on the other side of town, they were still someone you gave a shit about, to a degree. And now everyone in America sees, their house is a castle. People outside are my enemy. I'm afraid because anyone could stab me in the back. There's no trust. And that no trust society.
I agree with you that there is here. Unironically, actually, trust isn't the problem. It's who's being trusted. We have replaced, community hasn't gone away. MAGA is a community.
That's true.
Right? It is. It's a very strong community that protects its own, that will stick up for its own, even when they're stupid and wrong.
To an extent.
And that is a large part of its strength, is that it doesn't matter. Oh, hold on.
No, but you are right, though. You're onto something.
Yeah, but if I can finish just real quick, like a large part of this strength is that no matter what Trump says or does, or what someone who supports Trump says or does, as long as they are pro the community, which is, in this case, supportive of Trump, they could do literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the community will support them and look out for them. They won't have to worry about being like poor and stuff because they will get boosted, right, by their MAGA community networks. Russia will pay the bills in some of their cases, right? Like this will happen. This is a strength that they have. So when we talk about community being the answer, I would argue that, and this is where we're going to part ways, I think, that community is also the problem. Community is also the problem.
I agree, actually. Can I just say one thing? Because just really quick distinction, actually, because you put this together in my head for me. Because I've also talked about how Republicans are actually some of the only people in this country that still do have community, like in person. I think the difference should be a top-down structure of community, like MAGA has, is a problem, but a bottom-up structure where there is no leader of the community. It is the community's benefit is the leader of the community, because the benefit of the community benefits each individual in the community. This is the type of community that I advocate for, rather than a top-down leadership structured community. Now, for activism, that's
go on. No, please.
I was gonna say, because like that's for just general survival. For activism, obviously you can't do it exactly like that. You do need to have organizers, and that's a whole other subject. I'm just trying to get people to stop burning out and not paying attention. I would like to see more crash outs than burnouts.
Well, hopefully we can get through it without either. Personally, but I think that that I think that like what protects communities. I'm trying to think of a good word for it. Not purity. That's not the word I want to use. That has wrong connotations. The community's effectiveness and usefulness, and even that's not the best word because you can be very effective but be very evil, right? Like it's efficacy for human flourishing. Let's say that, right? The community's ability to create human flourishing, I think, is predicated on the protection and veneration of the individuals within that community, individual rights. There is no minority is more of a minority than the individual. They're always going to get shit on, and they're always going to be asked to be the sacrifice for the group. And I think that when we get into that territory, it creates situations, it creates this environment, it creates the necessary prerequisites for people like Trump to get power and to maintain power. And I think that one of the reasons Trump was able to rise is because of the excesses of a lot of the left. And I know that's unpopular opinion maybe on your side of the aisle.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, though. Like, could you
So,
clarify it a
culture,
little?
let's use that as an
Okay, yeah.
example.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Valid.
Yeah. The ways that especially academia treated a lot of professors who didn't go along to get along right with the pervasive narratives. People during the Black Lives Matter stuff that were you would get attacked just for not saying anything at all. They would hound you and do this like struggle session. Now, the crazy thing is, MAGA's doing the same thing now.
Yeah.
Right? It's doing the same thing now and worse.
Yeah, they do the DEI
in
thing
my
too,
opinion.
even in their like own twisted way. Like they do every
But
accusation.
they learned it from us in a way, right? They learned it from us because it does work a little bit. Like it does create this kind of forced cohesion in a community. Like if you're forced to kind of go along with these things, but it's I don't know, man.
Well, actually, you're on
it
it.
got hijacked for evil.
No,
right?
but I agree. And I do think that yes, the individual is someone that needs to be protected, and so a community that both values the well-being of the individual and the community on a real level, like on a functional level, would require the valuing of the individual to go in equal terms with the community, because if any one of them suffers, then both of them do. A symbiotic relationship between the individual and the community, increasing the standard of living for that individual in turn will then increase like the community's benefits, which will then also increase the standard of living for other members of the community and so on. That's the system that I want to work towards, which is not an easy one to build.
It's not. Let's get to the brass tacks about how we create or how we build emotional regulation and emotional resiliency in individuals in our communities. And let me ask you a couple questions here on this. Would you advise, or what advice would you give to a chatter? Chatter says, "Hey, my parents or my girlfriend or my son, I don't know, family member, close relationship, they're not political or they disagree with me on this very important topic and we fight all the time. What should I do? Should I continue to fight? Should I continue to fight with them? Should I just let it be? Should I just ignore the difference? Should I cut them off? What's the advice that Visora gives her chatters who have
with
problems
that
like
type of with that exact phrasing of the question? My answer to that would be, the next time this person comes, like this family member is confrontational with you, I would suggest that you try and keep maintain a consistent tone, and instead of making any statements, just keep asking questions and lead them to where you want them to go via asking them questions, rather than by trying to argue, because you're never going to argue someone into changing their mind, but you can possibly
skill issue.
Yeah, it's basically skill issue. Yeah. No, but like that's true. It is a skill issue. And I have actually had these kinds of questions before of like, what do I do if I hate every one of my like neighbors? I don't want to talk to them. How am I supposed to engage with these people if they all want me dead personally because X, Y, or Z? And the answer to that is they might say that online, but have you talked to them in person recently? Maybe next time you should try and bring some food, because offering free food to people instantly drops some of their like aggression in general. When you're talking, like, you knock on someone's door and you want to talk to someone who you know, like, let's say you're gonna go knock on someone with a MAGA flag on their front lawn. I'd say you can do that, assuming that you can do so safely. Not everyone should be going and knocking on people with MAGA flags doors, but let's say you live in this community and you are still trying to engage in some of like the advice that I put forward. Even if you're not trying to build anything, I think you should do that just to build up practice of talking to people that you might dislike. You might despise these people, but a good start would be bring a pastry, have some cookies. It'll instantly lower the other person's guard. It's using more psychological analysis on top of our material analysis of things. I want the left to think more psychologically, and I want the left to adopt some of the right-wing strategies, but to use them in a morally good way. Like, the right was incredibly manipulative, and to this day is incredibly manipulative. Manipulation is generally bad, but if you're manipulating somebody off of walking off a cliff, like, you know, they're going to walk off the cliff and they're not listening to you, but if you manipulate them, they might actually like turn to the left and not fall off the cliff. I would think that that's morally justifiable to a degree, and I think that that's up to you personally and how you want to engage with that. But there are broad, like, don't lie to people who you have no reason to. I mean, this is for MAGA type people. You know, manipulate MAGA. I don't care about manipulating MAGA. I don't give two fucks how they feel. I think that they're basically subhuman at this point because they lack empathy. And I think empathy is a requirement for being a person. And I think if they come to me, or if they come to any of you and they want to have a conversation, then they're not one of the subhuman zombie MAGA. Zombies are a whole nother breed. Those are the ones that will never engage in any possible form of good faith. And I think those people should be shunned, should be made to feel shame and guilt. And yes, I do realize part of the reason we got here is that. The reason that we got here through that is we didn't do it hard enough. We allowed these people to feel okay. Like, don't give them a second of validity. Don't give them a second to breathe. Don't take the ideas of those people seriously. But don't be the one that starts that. That's your response to those people. Always engage in good faith and try and foster good environments. And when faced with opposition from a zombie, at that point, you can just disregard anything they have to say. Not every idea is valid. Not every belief that a person holds is valid. It's just not. And I think part of why the left struggles is because we've coddled ourselves through decades of validation, really, of trying to not offend anybody, of tone policing, word policing ourselves, while we don't have the power to do so to the other side as well. It doesn't help if you know, Democrats are word policing each other, but nobody's doing so to the Republicans, leaving an entirely normalized rhetoric from their end with the weakest possible opposition from our end. We need to get tougher. Like, this is not democracy anymore. We have fascism now, and under fascism, you sometimes might have to sacrifice some of what you might want morally in some of what's functionally going to be useful.
I was with you to a point, but then I got off the train, and I'll tell you where I got off the train. The idea of being good faith to people is great. I agree with that. The idea of changing how you approach people and approach people in a non-combative way, excellent. Bringing food, I like food. People in my life like food. Even MAGA people like food. Everyone likes food. It's a good way to do it, right? But this is what I'm going to tie this back to the genuine problem, right, that I spoke of earlier, that we have a problem where people don't see us as genuine, is because I think that people are smarter than we give them credit for. And people can tell when we're, because you know the type. You know the type that comes on and they're just nice to you because they can get something out of you. Or they want something from out of you. We sense that. We can understand that, right? We can be like, oh, this guy's just being nice to me because I have a big platform and he wants to come on my show. Or this guy's just being nice to me because he wants to talk to me about his Lord and Savior Buddha, right? I don't know, right? Like he wants something from me. He's trying to push me into something from me, and I do. That's the first point of like worry I have, concern, if you will, about this kind of approach. I think it puts the cart
Wait, you
before the
lost
horse.
me.
I think we need to. Can you hear me?
You lost me with like the connection from like everyone likes food to then the danger of this approach. I think you missed, like, I think you might have had a thought that you didn't say out loud.
Sure. Let me try to reconnect then. I worry that the people that, before we tell people to do that, right? Before we ask them to kind of engage in that kind of level of thing, we have to get people to stop seeing others as subhuman, even if they hold subhuman views. And until you can do that, until you can actually see the person you're bringing in cookies as someone you actually want to engage with, right? And actually want to have a relationship with that isn't animosity.
But I
Or
don't.
manipulation.
The thing is, like, I don't want to have a relationship with those people. I think all of them.
Well, then I don't think your method's going to work.
Well, not to them. No, I don't. I see. My messaging is never directed at MAGA. I don't actually care about messaging to MAGA. I care about messaging to the average American who is not hyper partisan. Most people didn't vote.
I understand. I think that most people, though, at least in the online communities that I've engaged with, not just yours, mine too, other communities that I've engaged with, DGG, Vosh, VGG, right? All these communities, I don't think they I don't think they can accurately identify the different types of right-leaning person that is out there. I don't think they can tell the difference between someone who voted for Trump because they were scared about all the lies that they were being told versus someone who voted for Trump because they're a cultist. I don't think that they can accurately identify these things. So I worry that they're going to just default to treating everyone as you said, subhuman. And I think that it does poison. It's a poison to view other people like that. It doesn't hurt them. It hurts you, though. And maybe this is me being a soy boy beta cuck, maybe. But I think that, like, this idea of these other people who hold this abhorrent view that I hate are now not really people.
Not hold this abhorrent view.
Hurts them.
It's doing the abhorrent actions and taking joy in them. I don't think, like, from, again, my consideration of a person requires humanity, and that's empathy. If you're taking joy from large-scale suffering from others, and to your credit, you're right. People can't identify the different types of MAGA. And to be able to do that, you must first be able to analyze the different kinds of MAGA, which then also means you have to analyze your own feelings so you could properly perceive the different types of MAGA. It all kind of ties in together.
Yeah, can you be specific when you say the abhorrent actions that they're taking? What do you mean? And I'm not talking about Trump admin. I'm talking about the average MAGA voter.
Well, I've seen instances of people dressing up as ICE and using it to try and, like, assault people. There's that one famous case of the person who tried to sexually assault a woman, but there's also been cases of people who just, like, you can just buy like an ICE jacket on Amazon, and people do
You think
that
most
and
MAGA
wear
voters
that.
are doing that?
No, I'm not. You asked me a question of, like, give me different levels of them, and I am. How to.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so, like, there's that type of one. Some of the abhorrent actions of those types, those are generally like 15 to 23-year-old, like, behavior, young type of stuff. But then there is the abhorrent behavior of knowing full well that the policies that you voted for would harm others and not caring because you thought that you personally would benefit. I think that's abhorrent. I think, because there are, and there have been many who've admitted it of, yeah, no, I voted for Trump knowing full well that this shit would get bad. Like, there were people after the election saying, oh yeah, I voted for him, even though, like, I personally think he's Hitler, but like, we would have, his economic proposal was better.
Do
There
you
were
see those
people.
people? Do you see those people as subhuman?
No, I think those are abhorrent people, but they're not subhuman. I have a tier system, actually, a bestiary of MAGA.
Tier system.
Yeah, we got
MAGA.
zombies
Which
at the
tier
bottom.
goes in the camps? Which tiers go in the camps when we take
The
power?
re-education camps. That would
Yes.
be the ghouls, the zombies, and that's it. The liches and the demons and the vampires don't. Those all go to prison forever. Re-education camps are for the ghouls and the zombies.
I really need to see this tier list. I do.
Well,
what's an example of a what's an example of a so there's demon, liches, vampires, ghouls, and zombies.
Yeah.
Is that the order? Okay.
Vampire and demon are pretty synonymously on the same level. Vampires are the corpos, the demons are the admin. The liches are the
Give me an example of each person in the tier.
Okay,
someone in each tier. Just really
Peter
curious.
Thiel is a demon. Bill Gates is a vampire. So is Jeffrey Bezos, blah, blah, blah. Caroline Levitt is a lich.
Oh, do you think Bill Gates is MAGA?
No, he's a billionaire. Therefore, he's a vampire. I think that all billionaires are vampires. That's one outside example. But I do think that Bill Gates benefits from
in
it.
the context of MAGA voters.
Okay,
right?
well then
Can you give us
Zuckerberg, then vampire. Thiel as a demon. Caroline Levitt is a lich. A ghoul would be somebody like Gibbs. I called him a demon previously, but I'm actually downgrading him to a ghoul because the demons have gotten far more demonic lately. And then a zombie is your run-of-the-mill MAGA who is a cultist. Like they don't actually care what Trump does, thinks it's just like the horde mentality. That's my tier list.
I do worry that you're putting like a billionaire in the same category because I think that, like, for example, Bill Gates is a different thing.
Yeah, he is.
Than, I don't know, Trump. I think he's a different thing. I don't think he's malicious in the
They're
same way that
symptoms of the same disease, which is capitalism.
No, I think Trump. Well,
I think it all comes back to capitalism. You know it. I'm a socialist. You know.
I know. We like you anyway.
But yes, Trump and Bill Gates are not the same thing. In fact, like, Bill Gates is on a different tier even within the billionaire class of like evil, but he's still evil by virtue of being a billionaire.
I think that the one of the issues that I think that left has and Democrats have is this. I think it's called the omni cause. Okay. And instead of addressing each problem individually, we try to lump all the issues into a single omni thing that has to be dealt with by the root, right? Whether that be, capitalism is a good example.
Well, I mean, otherwise you're putting band-aids on a bullet hole because it's a systemic issue. There needs to be a systemic fix to the issue. Otherwise, you'll plug this hole and then it'll start leaking out that hole. And then you'll plug that hole and it'll start leaking out that hole. And like, not to say that there'll ever be a perfect system, but we're taking on, like, the ship is sinking, man. Like, we need to have systemic fucking change. There is no any one issue right now that isn't interconnected with every other issue right now.
Well, the ship is sinking primarily because we have people like Trump taking an axe to it. They're drilling holes in the boat that would not be there naturally. I'll give you a good example, the tariffs, right? We are heading for a lot of economic pain in the coming months. And as I was telling my audience this before the show, right before we talked, is that the tariffs are in place now, but you're not going to feel the effects of them until late May, early June, maybe mid-June, because companies have a backlog of stuff, of supplies, right? So that they're not adding their tariff costs on yet because they haven't had to pay that tariff cost for that supply, right? So they're going to charge you what they've always been charging you for it. What's going to really hurt is when they run out of that stock and they have to refill it from the imports to from other countries like that are going to get the tariffs. They're going to be passing on that cost to the consumer because, well, and this isn't an evil thing because a lot of these companies, the only way that they can survive, their profit margins are pretty narrow, and they don't have a lot of wiggle room. So they kind of have to, if they want to stay in business, they kind of have to up their prices because the prices have been upped on their goods. So I get it. It's not something I'm blaming them for, right? Necessarily. Depends on the company. But you know
Well,
what
obviously,
I mean?
like I'm not going to make a point to argue that.
Yeah, there's a real issue here, and a lot of companies are going to feel a lot of pain. Some are going to go out of business, and there's going to be a lot of price hikes for the average consumer that's coming down the track. But here's the thing: none of that, and it's going to lead us to a recession, most definitely. The problem is that wasn't a natural course of capitalism, or that didn't have to happen, right? Like capitalism didn't make that happen. What made that happen was Trump.
We tried to do this in the 1930s, though. 1933 business plot. That's the same
but
thing.
Then everyone after we tried to do that, everyone had to die before we had tried to do it again because we realized what a dumb idea that was. So everyone who tried it initially had to be dead.
No. I'm not talking about the Nazis in Germany. I'm talking about in America. Nobody died for that. I'm talking about like the business plot.
You're not talking about the tariffs. You're talking about
no, not those tariffs. I'm talking about like the takeover of the federal government by people who specifically only care about siphoning wealth away from the working class. Because that's why these tariffs exist. The tanking of the economy, the drop off in trade, none of that like is by accident. All of this exists to enrich further the already ultra wealthy, even at the expense of some of the wealthy. Like, it's not just the working class that's getting fucked now, it's also some of the wealthy. But the plan is still to make the even wealthier even wealthier.
I don't think that's actually the plan with this tariffs. I think that it is a lot of people want to destroy the liberal world order.
That too.
They are accelerationists, and they are looking to break off connection with any outside. They're isolationists, in a very real sense. And this is separate from capitalism. This, and again, like I'm saying here, this didn't have to happen. Trump is making it, and his admin are making it happen because of their ideology. It's not a result of capitalism. It's a result of these. Is evil.
But it's both, though. I do think it's both because you're right, and that end of that liberal democracy order that you're talking about, because you are right. I do think it's both, though, because the people who are in this admin who will benefit the most from it are these uber wealthy, the oligarchs who were at the inauguration. All of the, like, if you go and like look up some of the things that Zuckerberg and Bezos and Musk have read and talk about as like their favorite childhood media, like Snow Crash was one that I talked about this week, which is a old book, like it's basically cyberpunk dystopia-esque.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, they want, really that's book. Still capitalism though. It's just a different form. It's ANCAP shit. It's, they want there to be almost, actually ideally they would want there to be no federal government and the government just be decentralized city-states run by corporations. Like California and all of like the northern half of the West Coast are I don't know, Amazon property, and then like X Corp gets all of Texas and Alabama and Nevada. Like that's the kind of world that they want to build. And all of this like tariff stuff gets us closer to that. It is accelerationism. It is the destruction of the liberal order, but it is also the destruction of the US dollar as the world reserve
Yes.
currency, like it is the destruction of the US global hegemony. All of it leads into the enriching of these people and the enslaving of the American population, as well as likely other populations.
Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because you mentioned like the boat analogy where we have holes in it and it's leaking and we're sinking. I'm saying that normally, in normal circumstances, we'd be living high on the hog. We wouldn't be sinking at all. Human flourishing would be up. But again, because of these bad actors in the system, and no system is immune to this. Not socialism, not communism.
right.
No ism that you can think of is immune to people who want to take a wrecking ball to it and destroy it from within.
You're right.
You're never going to have a system that can protect against that. Well, the best we can do, and because I've been thinking about this problem a lot, because Trump has sidelined Congress entirely. He has not tried to pass any legislation because he realizes he doesn't have to.
Unitary
He
executive.
can just govern by executive order through fiat, right? And of all people, the only senator who's actually trying to do something to stop this right now, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is Rand Paul.
Yeah, I know. It's wild, isn't
He's
it?
the only guy that's putting up together Senate votes to try to stop the tariffs from going through.
It's wild. But
it is weird.
Really quickly, just because I think you're right, but I want you to understand what I mean. It's not the systems itself. It's that this particular system incentivizes what we're talking about. It's not that any system is perfect, but this one incentivizes this behavior. I wasn't clear enough when I first laid it out.
Fair enough. I don't. That's a larger discussion and things, and I do want to get to a couple other things that my chat is begging me to bring up, so I'm going to bring it up. Democracy, right? So what's with like we talk about emotional regulation? What's with the crash outs on my stream recently? Why you been ditching my streams?
Well, the
Why you
last
been
one that I
dropping
went
from
on,
the debate panels.
the last one that I went on, I left because clearly, to me and my chat at the very least, my degree of knowledge over the subjects that were being discussed was, to put it nicely, like this is like it's gonna sound conceited, but it is, but it's true. Is like I'm 10 steps ahead of that conversation, and I wasn't the only one to say it. In fact, somebody who was part of that debate also said, "Oh yeah, no, like we were having very different arguments. You were like we were arguing the same thing, but you're arguing like 5 steps further than I am," type of thing. And so there was nothing to be gained from it, and it bored the ever-living shit out of me. And I left that one because I thought I could do something more productive outside of it.
Look,
Aside from that,
I get you on the boring thing. Like I can't tell you that all my streams are going to be the most exciting thing ever.
aside from that, though, let me finish
I
though.
will say,
Let me finish though,
okay.
really quickly. Is that I'm not immune to this. My brain is just as rotted as everybody else on the internet. All I'm trying to do is fix mine and everyone else's idea of how to cope. But no, I'm not above it. I have crashed out on your stream and left because I got too angry. And that was, I think, the very first debate I did on your stream and left because I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Hell no, I'm not doing this shit. And so I left. But that was the only one that I would consider a crash out or a rage quit. And I still won that debate.
Well, let's talk about the most recent one then, about the 10 steps ahead thing. So let's assume that's true. I won't fight that for the sake of the conversation, but I will say this. If I'm 10 steps ahead of people, does it not become a responsibility to educate those who are behind? Like one of the phrases I get, and I'll finish and I'll let you respond. One of the phrases that triggers me and that I do have an emotional response to is this, it's not my job to educate you. I don't believe that's true for a minute. I think it's all of our jobs to educate people. I think it's my job. I think it's your job. I think it's everyone who knows is a job to educate those who don't know or who may be behind or may be misinformed or disinformed or ill-informed or what have you. So I wonder, again, I can't speak for the boring nature of it. Fair enough. You were bored. That's okay.
I agree.
But wouldn't it behoove not just my panelists but my audience to hear someone who has more education on the topic speak on the topic?
Well, yes, but on 2 points. One, yes, I think you do have a moral obligation to, if you have knowledge, share that knowledge with people who don't. But I don't think you have to extend that moral obligation to people who are unwilling to listen to you and to engage with you from a position of wanting to learn and exchange ideas rather than argue. Secondly, I don't think that there's much learning that ever really happens in the modern debate scenario, because debate these days is mostly just like blood sport. Most people don't remember most of what they hear in the debate. They only remember the whichever line hits the hardest, the funny jokes. You're not learning from a debate. And honestly, like, even just going by that question, I think that I did do that. I think by leaving that debate, I did actually go and instead teach it to my audience who was interested in learning about what I was talking about in more detail and discussed it with them. And not to say that my audience always agrees with me. They do not often agree with me. Like, or rather, they don't often agree with me. But regardless, you have to decide where you're going to spend your time and where it's most effective.
I get it to an extent that I don't know. It's hard. I get what you're saying about no one learns from these debates. I understand, because it is frustrating, because there is a sizable portion, no matter who you are, and I've said this about all of my appearances on the bigger show, no matter how well or how poorly I do, there's going to be the people who agree with my argument that will say I did great, the people who disagree with my argument who will say I did poorly. And that's just across the board. There are exceptions. Part of being a debater, part of being a streamer, part of being these is learning who you can trust to give you actual feedback, and what feedback you can just toss out the window, because they're just either a sycophant or a hater, one of the two, right? And 90% of criticisms fall into that category. They either glaze in you because they like you, or they hate you, and so they're gonna denigrate whatever you said. So I get that part, but I do think that we are in a situation where the margins matter, and those 1% that might be swayable is important, even if the 99% aren't going to listen to you, and it's going to be not effective for you at all.
They are important.
When we go on to if I may finish just real quick, right? And I'll be brief. I know I'm being long-winded. It's part of my.
No, it's okay. I do
problem
too.
I have. Yeah. I worry that it's easier to talk to our audiences, because there are audiences. There are choir, if you will, even if they will fight with you, and might fight with me too, right? But they've already kind of bought into the level of I'm worth listening to, right? That's why they're here for the most part, right? There's a couple little shitters in there, right? But for the most part, they're like, I'm worth listening to, even if they disagree with me. So they're here to engage, at least at some level. I think that it does us no favors when we go to other people's audiences and then we just quit. Even if it's boring, or if it's too hard, or if it's boring, or if we know too much, or if the other people are being shitters. I'll give you an example. I was on a debate on not this Monday, but the Monday before, where the people threatened to kill me on the debate. Like, they were threatening
You told me
to
about
kill
that.
me.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
I
insane.
didn't quit though, because I think that it's I think I need to show people that you don't just quit when people threaten you. You don't just quit.
It's
when
not,
it's boring.
first
You
of
don't
all,
just quit when
if
anything.
someone was
Yeah.
threatening me, no, I wouldn't have quit either. You're right on that one, and standing your ground is the base thing to do there. But here's my question to you. Do you think that maybe that 1% might be more easily swayed by a conversation like the one that we're having now versus a debate? Because this is the type of engagement that I would prefer. I'm happy to talk with people that disagree with me, like this, but I don't want to do a debate where it's a game. It's a gladiator fight. It's a blood sport. There is no actual exchange of ideas. There's no analysis going into it. It's just talking points. And I think that if you're interested in working towards trying to message to the margins, discussions on a level closer to something like this are much more conducive to positive outcomes.
So I think that what works for me doesn't work for everyone.
That's true.
And while it might work for me to be engaged with in a certain way, there are other people who look at and see only the raw strength of it. Can someone dunk on their enemy? And while I find that off-putting, frankly, there are other people who find that draws them to the idea. And I think that we are in a situation where we cannot. We have to use all the tools in the toolbox. We have to use all the tools in the toolbox. And I think that we have a responsibility. And I'll use that word. Maybe not to go on my panel specifically, because I'm just a small streamer, and that's fair. But like somewhere like Tim Pool, right? Or someone like
By the way, you did a good job on Tim Pool.
Andrew Wilson. Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
I
I
enjoy
wasn't
that.
perfect, and that's part of it. Is like you can learn from things you do wrong in these things, and you can make it better. And people would say, "Well, that worked. That didn't. What's the best rhetorical strategy?" And you can fix it, right? But I do think you have the responsibility to go on like the Joe Rogans. One of the things, whoever told Kamala not to go on Joe Rogan,
I agree,
did her a disservice. You need to go and you need to show you can throw down, because a small percentage perhaps, but there are people that respect strength and that shows strength. And remember, in America, no matter what Trump says that he won by huge margins, 2% difference in 3 states, and it would be President Harris right now.
I'm being fact checked that Kamala offered, and Joe Rogan is the one that said no to having her on.
Again, I'm not sure who.
Just
I'm not sure who did that. Right? Like I don't know. There's mixture. It's a he said she said thing, but there are reports also of a lot of Kamala's staffers telling her not to. So regardless of
that, I
who
did
was
hear
at fault
about.
at the
Yeah.
end, yeah, who was fault at the end? The staffers who were telling her not to were giving her bad advice. Is my thing.
Well, to be fair,
my
like her
point.
consultants were fucking Hillary's consultants, so like I'm not surprised that she was getting some bad advice too. But I do think that it was probably more Joe Rogan than her, because she did offer. I am remembering that now. But regardless of that, yeah, you're right. And there are contexts where it is important to go and stand up to the like threat in the room and to show strength. And I think that there are times where it is less effective and can be done better. Not to say that like there is no debate that I would go on. I don't want to debate anymore because I don't find them fun, nor do I find them productive. But like you, for example, got called on to Tim Pool. I would go debate Tim Pool. That's something I can find use value in, utility in, because that is in several degrees of like there is a larger audience at play here, an audience that hasn't really been exposed to any of your rhetoric before. It's throwing a dart at the wall instead of just holding on to the dart when you have one. Like there's a dartboard, suddenly there's a dart in your hand, you should throw the dart. But I'm not throwing darts at the wall if there's no dartboard at the wall, like on the wall, you know? Like it's not just pointless bickering if there is utility in it that I find worth the time and effort, sure. But not all arguments are worth having. Not all people are worth listening to or taking seriously. And
No, I understand. Pick and choose.
Yeah,
right.
and
But I will just say, like, you did choose to go on, right? You did choose to come on the show.
No, I did.
You did choose
I did.
to sit down.
I did. And like I said, I'm not immune myself. We are
Right.
all human. But I think that this is one
Over
way
and
that
over.
we could continue to move forward and try and improve.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anything else you had for me tonight?
No,
Miss
that's pretty
Visora?
much it.
Cool.
Anything you wanted to add in?
That was the one of the big ones. I think we discussed emotional regulation. I think that was important. We discussed like what are people's responsibilities. That was another thing I wanted to talk about, and the debate panel stuff. That's the three things I wanted to hit on, and I think we did. Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate you coming and inviting me. I always like being invited on people's shows. It's
Absolutely.
always
And
nice.
thank you for coming
it's
on.
weird. It's weird because I'm always the one doing inviting to other people. So I feel like there's this like hesitancy for other people to invite me on their stuff to a degree because I'm the one that's hosting usually. So I do appreciate you reaching out. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I'd have you on again if you want to talk about something. Obviously,
sure.
like, yeah.
Anytime.
All right. Well, I think that that's it for the day then. Well, I will chat with you a bit later, probably, because that's all I really wanted to chat with you about. And
okay.
Yeah, I gotta go pee anyway. All right, see ya.
Okay, go do your thing,
Bye
and I
bye.
will talk to you later. Okay, have a good one, Visora.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye. Okie dokie. Hold on, let me turn my camera back on. There we go. I am back. Move some stuff around. How you guys going? Jeez, that's a lot of chats. No, I think that was a pretty good, like, conversation. I enjoyed that. I think that there are obviously some points where me and Whick definitely disagree, but I don't think that there was, any animosity there. He did try and troll me a little bit, but, like, he told me beforehand. That was fine. We were having fun. I wasn't looking at chat, so I don't know what the hell you guys were saying, and there's so much chat that I'm not sure I could, look up all the way through all of that. I don't think I have the capacity. You gotta apologize. That was kind of mean. What did I say that was mean? What did I say that was mean? It was pretty respectful, all things considered. Yeah. I think that, fair enough. I think that there is utility in a lot of what Whick was talking about as well. I just think that he might be missing the forest for the trees a little bit when it comes to the emotional regulation stuff and the emotional resilience stuff, because I do think that that is the prerequisite, that you won't be able to move forward without that kind of resilience, without that kind of ability to engage with difficult material. I did not call him worthless. When did I do that? I never called him worthless. I said that some, like, people weren't worth talking to. Okay, I was gonna say, oh, I called the debates that he does worthless. I didn't say it to his debates. I said that about debates in broad general terms. His debates in like relation to anyone else's are not all that different. Debates without mods, debates with mods, debates are not a functional way of changing minds. She said, yeah, debates weren't worth it. To be fair, there was a little bit of passive aggressiveness coming from both ends there. All right, I need a minute because I do got to pee and then I need to fill up my water. And then I got a couple more things I want to talk about today. But I will be doing a short stream today because tomorrow and Friday are going to be long ones, I would imagine. I want to do a bit more research into what's going on with this fucking martial law shit. But there's some fun stuff we're going to cover first, so stay tuned. Give me just like 2 minutes. If you guys have anything specific you want to ask me when I get back, just like write it down and don't press send just yet. What's up? Ah, I do understand his desire to market anti-capitalism in a less violent way for recruiting people, but it's tough. The argument of you can't boil everything down to capitalism is such a silly argument to me, because you actually genuinely can, and it really is just a refusal to want to engage with the discomfort of that and of the system that we have spent our whole lives in, to be able to actually accept that. Right matter, I think Visora's approach and his approach are both valid and useful for different individuals. Absolutely. And I was trying to get that across at some point, in that, like, he might find it useful to debate with some of these people, and he might actually find some utility in that, and I think that's great. I just don't think I do. Shard, you mentioned this earlier, I think. I did see that message, in that it kind of felt like I've been searching for purpose a bit lately. It's not necessarily purpose, I would say, but it's more just how to go on going forward. Because prior to the election, my whole thing was preventative and trying to warn everybody to, like, hey, let's not end up here. But now that we're here, there is a whole new level of engagement that we need, and I don't know what that is. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what that is, and I do think that what I've been talking about in relation to especially the resilience emotionally is quite important. I think that that's kind of a keystone. Hold on. No, you're right, actually. I should give Headless Chicken a shout out, because Headless Chicken is based. Thank you, thank you. Absolute free speech is not always a good thing and tends to breed bigotry and hatred. I do also agree with that. And to be fair, we don't already have absolute free speech. Like, you can't say you want to, some people, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. What's up, Batgaz? Good to see ya. Good to see ya. No, I didn't think you'd disappear. I figured you'd be back one day. No, I know you weren't referring to it. I am, Shufu Poofer, in that, like, he was saying the way that we talk about capitalism makes it difficult for people to engage with who might not be as educated. And he is right about that. I do have an issue with being a bit too intellectual. It's a difficult thing to work on, you know, dumbing yourself down, because you also don't want to dumb yourself down too much, because then the point of the message kind of just disappears. It's finding that middle ground, and I am still absolutely working on that one. Whatever it is, electoral democracy ain't it, at least not in the way that we currently have it. You can't yell muted in a crowded stream. Exactly. Kind of like the Bad Penny always showing up somewhere sometime. You're too mean to yourself. Stop being pessimistic. Alright, let's look at something fun. There's a lot to look at, and not a lot of it is fun, so I am just going to try and hold off on some of the more depressing shit until tomorrow and the next day, considering got some pretty depressing news this morning. Geez, do I not even have any good news left? Did I go through it? You know what? This one's just not good, but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And it does also show how the capitalist system does create some of these problems.
is one of the most unaffordable cities in the world. Bright, sandy beaches, a safe, stable government, generous tax laws, and an open migration.
No, I have a fun one. This one's much more fun.
Concealing a gun in your pants is
Here we go. That'll be more fun. Let's watch some Boy Boy.
really hard. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. And luckily, there's a YouTube channel
I don't want
dedicated
sad content
to
today.
exactly what fashion choices you need to make to be able to hide from everyone the fact that you
I
can
should
kill
probably
them at
turn
any
chat
second.
back on, eh?
If I were brand new to concealed carry, I would buy these clothes.
Okay, that is perfect to us because we are brand new to concealed carry.
I'm brand new to clothes.
Yeah, me too. So all of this is new.
I'm glad we finally got something to learn. What I find really funny just straight off the bat is that it says don't wear this, and it's like possibly the gayest sentence that exists in English. Yeah. Like, you can't be seen in that. But like, these are gun guys, but like big masculine guys, and be like the 10 do's and don'ts of being a gun guy in the order.
Yeah, exactly. But also,
this is Boy Boy. This is a Australian YouTuber who makes some actual like really good content. These people snuck into Pine Gap with Friendly Geordies, like the US military base that's in the middle of outback Australia. But they are very funny.
I am slightly jealous of them because it's like they're playing life like they're a video game character. Or it's like, oh, I'm specking out my clothes for my weapon. Because it's like, if you are carrying a weapon, that honestly should be the only thing you're ever thinking about.
Yeah.
Wait, it's muted on your side? Can you not hear the audio? Oh, thank you for the bits, Headless Chicken.
Yeah. Everything else should revolve around your weapon. It's a big responsibility, so kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to spec this guy.
Lots of people are hyper-focused on gear, but they limit their focus to the gun or the accessories that go on the gun. But what about your clothing? Clothing is a critical part of the system.
I love that it's a system. It's not gay. We're not being women. This is all about a tactical clothing system.
Hey guys, this is Jeff with Tennecore. I'm the founder and designer of Tennecore products. I've been carrying a gun for over 25 years.
I've never carried anything for that long.
This isn't the slop channel though. They do more than slop. These guys have done like a video where they showed how easy it is to do money laundering in Australia. They literally walked into a casino with $10,000 in cash wearing shirts saying I'm laundering money and laundered $10,000 in cash. Oh, hello. Welcome, Whick Raiders. Welcome. We're just having some fun, watching some Boy. Why are gun guys so gay?
For 25 years, I would have killed so many people.
Yeah, who is this pussy?
The amount of accidents and just people are
yeah,
like,
don't put a gun in your bra.
Gun. I would have shot myself at least twice today.
So our goal here is for me to share with you my experience in the last 25 plus years, spending all the money and time and energy and resources that I have into figuring out this concealment problem.
Every single article of clothing that he's picked up is undercover cop clothes.
Yep.
A Hawaiian shirt at a music festival. I'm just a normal guy who doesn't have a gun.
Don't have a gun, no gun here, guys.
I've spent thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars experimenting with things and trying to figure out what actually works for carrying a gun every day.
For a man that's spoken about how much research he's done, he's literally wearing a hoodie and jeans.
Yeah, no, stuff's changed a lot for us.
What are you fucking talking about, bro?
I think the issue is that this man just likes fashion.
Yes.
He likes fashion and he needs to make this elaborate backstory in order to still be a straight guy. And he's like, oh, it's actually like tactical research, like 25 years of research. It's like, no, just be a fashion inspiration channel.
And I like it at the end of this, his resolution was the straight guy outfit.
Yeah.
That's the perfect, universally perfect outfit.
The most tactical outfit is jeans and a hoodie. It's not a dress.
Also, by the way, if you're worried about like tactical clothing, you know that like you don't want fresh, new, clean clothing, especially nowadays when we have drones and shit around. Your clothing is shiny. You want to muddy and dirty that shit. Get dust all over. If you're trying to blend in tactically with your environment, sure. If you're trying to blend in tactically with the cityscape, I mean, that's not gonna look great. You don't need a ghillie suit. You could just roll around in some mud regardless of whatever you're wearing, and that will make you less visible from a drone, for example.
Billowy moo.
Like, come to Visora streams for military advice. God damn, I do cover too much war content.
Where no one can see. You could have AR-15 on movement.
You have suicide vest.
But that's not the most tactical thing.
I didn't mute
For the first
anybody.
10 or so years of me carrying a gun, it was this constant process of experimenting with different belts, different holsters, different clothing, trying to find something that was both comfortable and concealable. It wasn't until I switched to appendix carry that my wardrobe choices.
Penis carry?
Appendix carry?
Oh, I thought he said, what he's talking about his penis.
My penis carry.
Which Civ Div video? Like a new one? Yeah, I have no idea what they're saying. What, penis carry? Penis carry?
Is that not what he said?
Did he say penis?
It wasn't until I switched to appendix carry.
He did.
He said penis.
We've researched the perfect way to carry it. It's not penis carry. Penis carry.
I think if he carried a gun for 25 years, he's probably shot himself in the head a couple of times.
Yeah.
And now he just can't say the word penis anymore.
Yeah, but also I love the idea of every man that carries a gun has to point it directly at their cock.
So standardizing the gun that you have, the holster you have, and the belt that you have, which are kind of the
Can you link
foundation.
me the video? That I'd be curious to watch that video. That sounds like I do like a good Civ Div video.
Components to your carry system is really important. Once you do that, you kind of know what kind of pants, what kind of shorts, what kind of shirt you can buy or wear, and it basically simplifies the entire process. I currently carry a Glock 19 with a Trijicon RMR on it.
I currently carry Glock 19. Chill the fuck out.
It's like those guys that squeeze your hand really hard when you do a handshake. It's just, no, I don't want to. It's just unnecessarily aggressive.
I won't do it. I won't squeeze again. But they always go like,
"Thank you,"
and you're just like, "Okay, dude, I was chill, and now you're just assaulting me." I don't know why you did that.
It's the same kind of thing as these like super insecure men that have to just have like one overly aggressive action throughout like a normal situation. And imagine this guy eating a fucking banana. I'm just a regular, everyday guy. But how have you been?
So let's talk about specific clothing in general. We'll start at the top and kind of work our way down.
He's talking about tops.
He's going to describe t-shirts to us and then pants to us.
Oh no, I thought he was talking about tops and bottoms. It'd be like, this kind of gay person needs to wear this kind of clothes and then you have this kind of gun. Bottoms, just don't carry a gun at all.
No.
You don't need it. The tops are here to protect you.
Should be the other way around, right?
No, bottoms, submissive.
Was the bottom's the submissive one? I thought the bottom was the one they're on.
Who likes?
No, I thought they were on the
And
bottom.
these two pretend to be gay.
They're the ones doing the fucking.
Well, how do you fuck on the bottom? How do you think anal sex works?
If they're on top of you.
I think the classic idea of anal sex is,
Bottoms wear a bulletproof vest.
In your bottom.
Yeah.
So it turns out
you've been lying to everyone.
So I'm a top.
Yeah, you've been lying to everyone.
What the fuck? Okay, that explains why everyone's so fucking confused.
So undershirts are a thing. I have always lived in northern climates, and so I've always worn an undershirt. And so when I carry a gun, I wear an undershirt. It is more comfortable in general for me, and it helps to protect my body from the gun. So generally...
The undershirt protects your body from the gun?
From what, like the coldness of the metal?
Everything about this is so good explaining why you need to wear an undershirt in a cold environment. It's just because of the gun.
Otherwise, I'd be naked. If I didn't have a gun, the freedom. The things I'd be able to do. Fucking terrifying to think that there's some guy who's spent 25 years working out that hoodie is a perfect way to pretend he's not about to murder someone. I don't know. I don't know anything to do with it.
I found it really bad when we were in Texas and you saw people with their concealed carry.
Yeah.
Some part of me just wants to be like, we just want to give me.
This stream will be archived, but it's also going to be on YouTube. No Cal Mike. You can always go check out the stream on YouTube.
Take it.
Although
it's fine.
Texas was much gayer than this. It was so good, like tight, like leather jeans and like pink checkered shirts, and then just like leather boots, like leather stiletto.
It does make me laugh that like the right wing, like manosphere, gun toting, like manly man, that they've co-opted cowboys, but like if they had any idea where their fashion sense actually comes from, they would instantly throw all that shit in the trash because, sorry, this entire outfit style came from Mexico.
Just walking around, I'm like, these are good looking boys.
And all because of their gun.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they do it.
I need these high heels to protect me from the gun.
With any clothing, the higher quality clothing, it's going to be more comfortable and it's going to feel better and fit better. Find a particular t-shirt or undershirt brand that you like, and then stick with that thing. I have found that the district-made DM130 works really well.
That is just a shirt. I find the DN130 works really well. What needs to work? You need 4 holes in a shirt. 1 big one, 1 slightly smaller one, and 2 very small ones.
4 holes, yeah.
What other functions do you need for this?
Yeah, tell me the specs of this shirt. Like that's
Now,
what
how do I conceal carry the USS Iowa? Well, if you figure that one out, let me know.
I wanna know.
I'd be curious.
It's nothing, it's just that it's branded.
I'm
and
Lord
he's selling his own
Technology.
merch.
So he said, I found my own shirts.
My own shirt.
Let's talk about cover garments. You need to put something over the top of the gun to cover it. Cover garments that are stretchy and knitty, like this one. This is like a polo. This is going to form around the gun and is not going to work very well. A t-shirt is going to be maybe a little better than this because it's not going to be quite as stretchy as this.
I mean, this is the same kind of stuff I think about because I just always have a boner.
Yes.
Just constantly. So like I really need to pick clothes that don't
Like a
form
condom
around
for
my
your
penis.
gun.
Exactly. Well, that's why you buy a belt for down low. You pull your boner down.
Or you put it up and you got a cock
Wait,
ring
what
with
are we
the power
talking
of your
about now?
belly and belt.
That's a good idea as well. I usually do the tuck down in between my ass cheeks, then you tense your ass cheeks and you close, like boner comes
Is that a battleship in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
back.
There's no way.
Into
that's
ass
a
cheeks
good
and
one.
tense, and it locks it in there. And the best thing is, if you're threatened, you release.
Oh.
You got your own fucking
Damn,
flick
Arverlin, you got beat.
knife in your pants.
in your groin.
In your underpants.
That's cool.
Try it. And even better is you go do it while soft, and then you get erect. And then it's
You get erect because
What the
your
fuck
dick is
are
in
we
your
talking
ass.
about?
Yeah, exactly.
And it feels good.
It feels great.
I thought we were talking about guns.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to sell your own gun-friendly clothing, but you're worried about how complicated commercial management is, then look no further than the sponsor of today's video, Odoo.
Odoo is a management software all-in-one that offers a range of applications for entrepreneurs to facilitate the daily management of their activity. Odoo CRM is very intuitive and places the customer at the heart of a ton of activity, from opportunity management to closing
I see, Shoo-hoo Booper. I guess that makes sense.
sales.
One of our favorite aspects is their instant lead capture, which means that interested customers can contact you directly on your Odoo website, and a new opportunity is automatically created in your CRM. Another great aspect is the pipeline views. With Kanban view, every opportunity is presented in card form with all the essential information available at just a glance, from their details to their priority level and their expected revenue.
Within each task, you can add the complete information of the client and their requirements in the description.
They're
It also
talking about
offers
how to
simplified
conceal
communications and
carry their
monitoring.
penises.
So all your
Okay.
email exchanges and log notes take place in the chatter. You can even integrate with ChatGPT to save time and easily schedule all your activities, such as meeting calls, to-dos, etc.
Best of all, you can create and send quotes in just a few clicks directly from your opportunity. Your clients can accept and even pay for it from the customer's portal, at which point we'd like to say, well done, you made your first sale. Finally, you can analyze your performance using
They're like,
personalized
I need to get
dashboards
through this
and
ad
predict
read
your
as
results
quickly
with
as
revenue
possible.
estimates.
Holy
and
shit.
the best part is it's absolutely free.
Your first ad with Odoo is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. So what are you waiting for? Go click our link and download
Odoo today and start selling your gun paraphernalia today.
So another aspect to concealment is going to be patterns on shirts. So you can have solids like this, and then you can have
I
patterns.
did
This
hear
is like
about the tip
plaid.
to F-18 overboard.
A pattern of multiple guns.
Oh, you don't know
so
where
they
it
don't
is.
know which gun is where.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fucking perfect.
That's what he should sell. People will be distracted. And they were like, let me see the guy with all the guns on his shirt isn't carrying a gun.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to draw attention.
No, exactly. That's where you get it.
Plaids are going to be very square because you have lines running one way and perpendicular lines running another way.
Oh, you cannot be serious. He's describing what plaid is. What's really good about this shirt is that it's got 2 armholes, so I'm not stuck like this all day. How is this a YouTube video? He looks like he's about to fall asleep.
This is amazing. 6 minutes and he just explained why he wears
I
Whick.
did. I thought they're learning how to conceal carry their penises. That was my response to your tucking comment, Shard.
Really boring shirts.
So they're going to cover up.
Gotta have
square
that
things
listening
really
ear
well,
on.
but not rounded things as well. Something like a Hawaiian shirt will cover up both because it is going to have both straight lines and round lines. And
What's a round line? You're carrying a grenade? What are you hiding underneath you? But also, if it covers round and square, why are you showing us any of the other options? Hawaiian shirt at all times.
All the time.
this shirt right here has plaid on it, which is great, but it is relatively light. And so the lighter colors are going to show the shadows and stuff more. And so they're not going to work as well for concealment.
Yes,
Where's our
that's how
gun?
colors
Where
work.
did our gun go?
Tisk tisk. Shame on you,
Oh,
Chad.
there he is. We got a gun. We got a taser. Which one do you want to conceal?
I'd rather conceal this. I don't want to accidentally tase myself. Okay, trigger discipline.
I think they were taxiing the jet, so like I have no idea.
See, towards my penis.
Yeah.
Can you see I'm concealing anything? Absolutely not.
These are really.
Did I just hear a gunshot?
Bam! Shot ya.
See, I don't know what he's talking about, the penis.
Yeah, it doesn't work. That's what I tried to do.
This man's an expert.
Yeah, this is impossible.
This is really hard to conceal your gun.
It feels like this is a very, very simple concept.
Yes.
Like, I put it in.
Yes.
Let's say I've got it in my penis hole.
Yes, it's in your penis hole.
Well, you can still kind of see it.
See, that is
kind of complicated.
Yeah, but it's because it's go in the middle. Yeah, I can't see nothing. Nothing. There's nothing there.
And then it just looks like I'm like about.
They
to
are
masturbate
having
and
fun,
I go,
hence
"Whatever,
why
don't
we're
look at
watching
this
them."
Guy. He's
Because I wanted to have fun.
masturbating in public, and then he shoots you.
Well, there we go. Maybe we only know that because we've watched his YouTube video.
Now that's some good
What's
editing.
so gay about this video was imagining this man trying on heaps of different outfits and going in front of the mirror. It is just like the lamest shit I've ever seen.
If I had a gun, that's all I would do. You're looking at me? You're looking at me?
Another consideration for tops is going to be jackets. When I wake up in the morning, I get dressed, I put the gun on, the gun comes off when I'm going to bed. It's not a thing that I just put on to go to the store.
I mean, if you're serious about guns, I don't think you should take it off when you go to sleep.
No, lots of things happen in your sleep.
Also, when you're sleeping, I presume he doesn't sleep with clothes on.
I presume he has very specific tactical outfits for sleep.
I was going to say you should. You really should, because otherwise you could be caught sleeping and someone might see your gun when you're sleeping.
Yeah, that's true. For sleeping, it's actually very tactical to have a starched sleeping cap, slightly stiff, so they can't tell where your head's going to move.
Yep.
And then also a gown, a sleeping gown, because it covers your gun where you might have it. And then you want a little saucer with a candle on it, so you can see at night, and also you can warn people they can hear you when you start trembling.
Yes, I like that. This is a good idea.
If you are a part-time gun carrier, then I guess you can get away with, I'm going to put the gun on to leave the house and put my jacket on. But now you're committed to always having that jacket
Excuse me, wait. If you're carrying your gun outside of your house, like in your jacket, you're not a part-time gun carrier. I don't know what the fuck that means, but from my guess, that would be, I don't know, I have a gun, I keep it in its box or a safe, and I put it in my car, take it to the range or wherever the fuck I plan to use it, and then bring it home. If you are wearing your gun on you outside of your house, then you are not a part-time carrier. Does full-time mean you sleep with it Tony Soprano style? Probably.
on, because otherwise your gun isn't concealed. Those are different lifestyle choices that you need to make. You decide
God, I
what
wanna
kind
watch
of
The
gun carrier
Sopranos
you are.
now.
Are you a full-time gun carrier or a part-time gun carrier?
He self-identifies as a full-time gun-carrying man. If he leaves the house in a jacket, he's wearing that jacket until it's sleep time.
Yes. I do understand that. Like, if I had a gun underneath me, under my jacket, I wouldn't want to take my jacket.
Oh, because it's illegal.
Because people would know I had a gun.
And they'd be like, who is this freak?
Yeah, but also it would change your interaction.
Does tactical carrying give health care for humans as well? Or is it just pet insurance? You know, like, do I get health insurance if I'm a full-time gun carrier? Part-time carrier as a fidget toy, please don't. Yeah, well, don't. Yeah, definitely don't. Honestly, if you live in an open carry state, you don't need to worry about much of this because you'll be able to spot immediately who has the gun. And if you want a gun in an open carry state and you are a regular viewer of mine, then you do want to actually somewhat try and hide the fact that you have a gun. You playing Half-Life 2 later? No, but I will tomorrow, Shufel. I'm sorry. I don't have it in me today. I had shit sleep last night. Tomorrow, though. I will not be, like, gaming at all today. I just want to, like, go to sleep, honestly. No, it's a new game, mate. You want me? Can I play it on Thursday instead? I can play it on Thursday instead. I was like, if you want me to like be able to actually pay attention to the story, all right, sure, hell yeah, works for me. You bought the game. You let me know when you want me to play it next. It just won't be today, unfortunately. Sadly, I do not have enough battleship removal money. That was an incredible way to put that story, girl. 10 out of 10.
Everyone around you. If I was doing a suicide bombing and I was covered in a bomb, and then someone just stopped for a random conversation, you'd be like, yep, going well. Don't have a bomb on me. Be like, imagine carrying a gun on you at all times. Be like,
I'm just making a deposit at the bank. This is normal.
Nice to meet you.
If you're a part-time gun carrier, you're constantly problem-solving stuff throughout the day of, oh, what am I wearing here? What am I wearing there? Oh, now I'm in a situation that I'm inside for the next 2 hours and I have a puffy coat on and I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I'm uncomfortable.
If you wear a jacket indoors and refuse to take it off for whatever reason, you're gonna be sweaty and uncomfortable. Like, that doesn't matter whether you're part-time or full-time.
I don't know the answer to that question.
One of the considerations that I think of for most of my jackets is I want a double zipper and I want the bottom zipper because I need to be able to unzip this enough that I can access the gun.
Why is that something you think about? I feel like he's a man-child. Like, he talks about how he's, ready to take a life and he's so serious. This is child behavior. Setting up all your clothes so you can have your Harry Potter wand accessible at all times.
No, honestly, actually, I think that might be the best description of what that guy is like, what that video is like.
But also, he hasn't even gone far enough. Like, if I
hasn't killed someone.
Well, he might have.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're designing clothes to shoot a gun as quickly as possible, it's very normal to walk around with your hands in your pocket. You'll just have a hole in your back of your pocket. You can just reach your gun out, so you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You just be like this. You didn't think of that.
Or have it so your gun's mounted in your pants but constantly pointing forward.
Like a jumper pocket, but on the inside. Yeah, I could see that.
You just have to face the person. And then you have a little trigger from your sleeve that you just flick.
Or bloody shoe gun. You stomp hard. Shoe gun.
The whole purpose of wearing a jacket
I'm
is you
pretty
might go
sure someone
outside,
already made a shoe
right?
gun.
The whole purpose of wearing a jacket is that you might go outside.
I did not fucking realize.
I thought the rain jacket was like a bedtime thing.
I thought it was for you.
Brain matter, I cannot imagine dating someone, some random person who makes their whole personality day to day revolve around their gun carrying. I would rather get shot, actually.
The shower.
Yeah, because it's
Personally.
wet.
It's wet. That's why I've been wearing my rain jacket. Fucking idiot.
I'm so glad I watched this video.
Yeah, wow.
If you have a gun and you're watching this and you're learning things from this video, I think it's just the scariest thing that's ever happened. If you have the power to kill someone in a split second and you don't know that shoes are for outside the house and slippers are for inside.
Amazing.
So an important aspect of your clothing and of your gear carrying setup is going to be your belt, because it is the thing that basically holds everything up. This is a pretty thick gun belt. This is a Magpul Tejas belt.
Women can't shoot guns, don't you know? Yeah.
Great belt that works really well.
That is just a normal belt.
That is a belt.
Gunmen being convinced
No,
that
not too far. Just like, holy shit.
there's a special thing here.
Gun belt
It looks
is a
belt
grip.
Lego man
Of
would
course,
wear.
it's
completely
literally a
the
belt.
most average belt in the world.
I think consistently belts are the things you can buy that even when you buy the cheapest ones, they usually still work. Like a shoe will fall apart if you get a $20 shoe.
Yeah.
You get a $5 belt.
Oh, I had some pretty shit belts, but I was a fat kid, so like as I'm putting
That's
it
the
it
problem.
through the test.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
An important part of belts isn't just how they're designed, but you got to use them right.
Most important part of belt. Okay, I understand.
But a gun belt feels the same as lotion for rugged men. Yeah, literally.
And this is like
He's shot
Tactical
himself in the
belt,
head.
though.
He's accidentally shot himself in the head, and now he has to work out how to stop doing that.
The tighter the belt, the more comfortable the gun will be and the more concealable the gun will be. However, you could tighten the belt so tight that the belt is uncomfortable.
Wait.
You want to find that?
What the fuck is a gun bed? Oh, goodness. Of course. Yeah.
Imagine you are in bed and hear the sound of glass breaking, followed by killed. There is a solution, the patent pending gun bed.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna accidentally happen at all.
Get you killed. There is a solution, the
I just, need to stretch. Oops, sorry, shotgun falls on my fucking face.
patent pending gun bed. The gun bed is quite possibly the biggest breakthrough in home defense since the invention of the firearm. The gun bed allows fast access to a firearm while keeping it secure, off the floor, out of the closet or the nightstand, and away from curious children when locked. In the event you hear an intruder and think it would be wise to investigate, the shotgun can quietly be
This must be a meme. I somehow think that it isn't. How is that secure? It's not.
That balance of tightening as much as you can for comfort and concealability.
What the fuck is this? Might find when you're putting your belt on that if you tighten it too much, it hurts you. Stop doing that. Who is this gun wielding?
Yep, ready to go.
I actually don't
like,
understand
those
who the
people
audience
have
is for
rotted
this.
their
Who this
brains
person
out.
needs to be told to stop tightening their belt.
Can't shoot their kids like that. They might shoot like themselves like that. Really, genuinely, you stretch, oop, gun falls, misfire, shot the wall, ricochet right into your own face. They will do anything but go to therapy. You're not wrong.
Typically, I wear 511 Defender Flex jeans. They just look like normal jeans. They
You know,
don't
in
look like
Australia,
casual
you're
jeans.
not allowed to have a gun unless you have a safe that is so heavy that someone can't come into your house and pick it up. It has to be not only that heavy, but also bolted to the ground. And that's the only place you're legally allowed to store them. Like...
jeans or tactical pants. What I like about them is that they are stretchy, and then they also have the hip pockets. And so I find the hip pockets to be kind of the magic pocket. So this may sound like a lot, and that's because...
Wait, he didn't explain that at all. I kind of find the hip pockets are magic pockets. I was like, oh, okay, what is he talking about?
It does, doesn't it?
And then what? Listen to his summary.
So this may sound like a lot, and that's because it is.
None of that was a lot until you said magic pockets and then didn't explain it. You explained what a belt is, what pants are, when to wear a jumper.
And different shirt materials.
For 15 fucking minutes.
But what you need to do first is ask the question, are you committed to carrying a gun every day? If you're committed to carrying a gun every day, then you're going to make the lifestyle changes necessary.
If there are this many rules...
Hey, Shufu Puffer, you want to make that worse? Think about the fact that ever since, like, on my whole lifetime, I'm 29, never have vitamins had any sort of regulation in the United States to make sure that they actually have the things that it says are in them, because the FDA don't look at vitamins and supplements, or rather, like, it didn't. Now it doesn't look at anything. Aren't Aussies completely unafraid of guns anyway? I feel like a gun would stop zero Aussie who wanted to fight you. I mean, like, we're afraid enough that we put in some gun laws after we had a mass shooting, but we do have more guns now than we did before that, so, you know.
Wearing clothes. If it's this complicated, you spend 25 years working this out? No.
No, but all it is a macro decision.
Oh, who's gonna check that? Sure, you're gonna get the safe, but the gun inspector gonna pop into your house and make sure the gun isn't out? Yeah, twice a year. The cops will show up at your house, knock on your door, and check that your guns are safely stored, as well as your ammo, as well as where the key to your gun safe is. Which isn't fun, but, like, you know, very reasonable requirement to have a gun, I would think. Especially in a country where most people have guns to go, like, shoot rabbits and foxes because they're pests on the farm. And to be fair, they don't really actually do the twice-a-year test thing. They say they do, but, like, sometimes they just never show up that year, and sometimes they only show up once.
And then that solves all these micro decisions in your life.
Yes.
If you make one macro decision, which he has taught you how to do, then it's just utility maximization. You've solved your whole life.
What's not reasonable is that we also apply the fact that you need a gun license to have a paintball gun or an airsoft gun or a gel blaster. That's not reasonable. Why would you not be afraid of guns? I mean, like, to be fair, at this point, you should be getting a gun because the people who have the guns are the ones who I'm afraid of. My dad has had a police check once in 5 years. Goddamn, cat piss. And they're supposed to do that twice a year, technically. Archery is mostly fine in Australia. I think you're allowed to have a bow, but you do need, like, something for a crossbow. But yeah, no, archery's easier, I would think. Because I'm pretty sure I could just go buy a bow and arrows without needing to go and get, like, a license for that, but I might need to double check that. The threat of constant checks keeps the guns in the safe. Yeah, that would make sense.
Deciding you're always ready to kill.
You're going to decide what gun are you going to carry?
Guys, I don't know why you Americans think that Australia has all this scary wildlife. America has infinitely scarier wildlife than Australia does. The only things here that are scary are, like, snakes if you're out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, spiders if you're out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and dingoes if you're on the wrong side of the dingo wall and don't have treats for the dingoes.
What holster you're going to carry, what belt are you going to use.
You guys got
and then what
magas,
other-
you got bears, you got wolves, you got coyotes, mountain lions. You're actually not allowed to shoot a kangaroo unless you have a specific license for it either.
clothing.
I would take a drop bear before I took on a country hick. Hell yeah. Yeah, please don't shoot the roos. You're not allowed to. It's actually very bad. But the big reds will fuck you up. Except you don't necessarily need to fuck with them, you know? They're nice. The roos don't want to fight you unless you're pissing them off. You can feed them. I've pet multiple roos.
You need to wear, or you need to buy, or you need to get rid of that supports that decision.
It's just such consumerist bullshit, though. I feel like if I had a gun, it would solve a lot of problems that you'd be less kind of
They will fuck you up,
reliant on the rest of society. The fact that you buy a gun and then you're like, oh, I gotta throw away my clothes
they're not
and buy
dangerous,
stuff from this
wildlife.
like special gun clothes store. It's just like you're
Like
a
the
fucking
wolves aren't like not the wolves. The roos aren't coming to fuck you up. They'll fuck you up if you go and piss them off.
You're a cuck.
You're a cuck. And also, once you have a gun, you don't have to buy anything ever again.
You just walk in and ask for it. They give it to you.
I thought that was the point of having a gun.
Yeah.
Of all the gun channels I watch on YouTube, this one has taught me the most about everything around concealing carry. Doesn't even try to sell me stuff. That was his own product. Tenorcore is his shop.
I love how dumb these men are. Wow, you taught me so much about shirt and belt. I'm so glad you're just a random guy not selling me things. This man should not have the right to decide who lives.
Hey, leave Headless Chicken alone. He doesn't deserve the drop bear agony, all right? Drop bears are only reserved for an invasion of Australia. We can't be letting out like OPSEC go to waste like that, cat piss. They're the special forces. Why militarize the roos when the emus are already an enemy, or rather an army? Well, because the roos and the emus, as well as the drop bears, now you got some combined arms forces here. You see what I mean? Then you add in the bin chickens. The bin chickens are like the fighter jets. You want to know what a bin chicken is? Like this is actually what they're colloquially called. They're not actually called the bin chicken, but they do often like to hang around the bins, and so we call them bin chickens. Right there. That's a bin chicken. Drop bears are like koalas. They're just like koalas that are pissed off.
And dies. That's crazy. I found a company on YouTube when I couldn't sleep. I was
It's
on
an
night
ibis.
shift guarding my house because everyone's attacking always. I've ordered 2 holsters since then, same day. This guy has insomnia and he's like, how can I kill better? Dude, you need help. You should not be on this YouTube channel. You need some therapy, you need some sleep, not 2 holsters in the middle of the night.
That was a horrible video, and we learned. I'm not even lying. I knew absolutely all of that. That's the most obvious information.
Like I've said, I have a plan of militarizing the emus, led by a general cassowary, and we can make this work. And none of them will kill you. But step 1 foot in a tidal pool, and cute little octopus pull you under in seconds. Fuck that. You like the rip will kill you here as well. And depending on where you are, on also with the like octopus or the jellyfish issue as well. A general cassowary, not a specific one. I do like what you did there. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
It's not just knowing it before. It's the kind of information that you don't need to think about.
No, I'm saying I know what a belt is.
Important.
Oh yeah, the
part of
magpies.
belt-
Those are one of the special Air Force pilots. The ibis are the bin chickens, I would imagine, would be the bombers, whereas the magpies are fighter pilots. They're actual drones, but biological.
It's just like background info that
And
your
they
mind
remember.
doesn't even address.
No, you're right. The magpies are our AI drones because they remember you. And they remember the people that you're friends with too. So if you piss off a magpie, they'll say fuck you and fuck all of the people that hang around you. And that goes generations.
It's so straightforward. I would die drinking a glass of water if my brain had to think about tightening a belt too hard. Like, there's no way you'll survive. You
Right
can't
at
cross
the end,
street
too,
if you're just
cheeseburger
tightening
Merv.
your belt
Goddamn.
until it hurts and not knowing how to fix this attack that's happened to you.
I love that this man has a gun.
Well, I think that's the issue with this video. At the end of the day, it just makes me so scared to be in America. People who find this informative are out there deciding whether or not they should kill you. I don't know. I think
you're just the dumbest man in the world.
You know what?
Yeah, by the way, that's why I want you to get a gun. If it wasn't clear to you, that's why.
So scared to be in America. People who find this informative are out there deciding whether or not they should kill you. I don't know. I think
you're just the dumbest man in the world.
You know, one really good use for guns.
Yeah.
Is that you can use it to get the audience to subscribe to our Patreon.
How?
So if I go like this and I'm just like,
I'm pretty sure YouTube would dislike me showing that on live. For some reason, live and videos don't have the same fucking rules. Bin chickens are the fighter bombers, poop from above. Magpies are the interceptors. Crows and ravens are cleanup on aisle 3. Wedge-tail eagles, oh fuck, get it off me. Yeah, sounds about right. Can I be a bin chicken when you grow up? Well, can you grow a snoot like that? Because then yes, you can absolutely. I mean, we call them bin chickens because they eat out of the bin, but you know, they are adorable. We'll see. All right. Well, sorry again for the short stream today, guys. I am very tired, but please make sure if you haven't already been keeping up with this or haven't read this, read it. It affects you. These two executive orders together are functionally martial law, or you can just go back to the very beginning of stream and, you know, watch my coverage on the subject. Vote for Albo if you live in Australia. If you don't, then I might have to leave and then you don't get to watch me anymore. Fuck Dutton. Cheeseburger Merv, I want the Liberals to lose so badly that Dutton loses his fucking seat. Just like Pierre Polivier did. Can I come by your house after work to hang out? Absolutely you can, Catpiss. I might take a little bit of a nap now then. Anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. And have a lovely evening. It really is just a thumb. Thanks for the bits as well.